it is my privilege to welcome you as the president of Lady Shri Ram College Alumni Association to this event. And this is the first ELSA event on ELSA Advocacy. We call it ELSARising because it's part of the 1 billion rising event. But before we go to the event, I do want to remind you or tell you, for those who do not know, that the main objective of Lady Shri Ram Graduates College Alumni Association is leadership with social responsibility. And for this, to this effect, we have done a lot of events over the years, a lot of support for enabling not just college students and graduates, but also reached out to the wider community. Because of the COVID pandemic, and last 2 years, we've also seen some cyclones and disasters. ELSA has been very active, enabling girls to become digitally included, as well as reaching out to cyclone and disaster affected people, migrants in Bangalore, and ELSA graduates have been extremely generous in reaching out and supporting the larger community, not just the ELSA graduates. So in this particular initiative, this follows our first community outreach, which was the ELSA Baitak, which was done last month, and we had the Sufi singer Zila Khan with us. This second event is part of the 1 billion rising, and which is an initiative that Bulbul will tell you much more about. This initiative is usually a localized event, and in India, lots of organizations for the past 10-12 years have been associated with it. And some of the organizations associated with it are with us today. They are Pratyek, which has a campaign called 9 is Mine with children. We have Srijanatmak Manushi Sanstha. We have the Queer Foundation, Mittika Ustadga Foundation, and Anhad. And for all these organizations, thank you very much for being with us today. I will now introduce you to our host this evening, and I know that all of you know her really extremely well. Professor Bulbul Dhar teaches at the Jamia Millia University. She is not only the vice president of the LSR College Alumni Association, but she is, an intellectual very well recognized in the field of gender. She is not only an intellectual, she also is very, very operational. She believes in operationalizing all that is learned intellectually by us about gender equality. So she is active with government, with NGOs, and several other fora on sexual harassment, as well as issues of violence against women. So with that, nobody could be better than hosting this event than Bulbul. So Bulbul, thank you for your hosting, and over to you.
Thank you, Smita, for that generous introduction. Of course, for those who don't know Smita, for those who don't know, ELSA's outside ELSA's. Smita Premchandar is, of course, the president of ELSAIC. And the rising today is an outcome of ELSA's solidarity. I can't emphasize that enough. We have enough and more ELSAs here, and a lot of organizations who've joined in. And I'd particularly like to welcome Abha Bhaiya, who's the national coordinator, Khushi Kabir, who has sent her message, Sunita Dhar, and so many others who are here that Smita also named. So what is 1 billion rising? 1 billion rising is a movement where the UN statistic that 1 in 3 women across the planet will be beaten, raped during their lifetime, and hence 1 billion. And as Kamla Di used to say, it's celebrated on 14th February, and as we all know, that's Valentine's Day and a day of love. So it should be against violence. So we celebrate this through till Women's Day and Women's Day month practically. And the idea being that we rise in countries across the world to show our local communities, like the ELSAs here, that we rise through dance to express joy, through songs, to celebrate and show that we have not been defeated by the violence. We need to rise and show we are determined to create a new kind of consciousness, one where violence will be resisted until it's unthinkable. So OBR, or 1 Billion Rising, is the biggest mass action to end violence against women. In fact, cisgender, transgender, and those who hold fluid identities that are subject to gender-based violence in human history. The campaign, which, as I said, launched on Valentine's Day in 2012, so it's 10 years since, began as a call to action based on the staggering statistic of 1 in 3 women will be beaten. And this adds up to, in a population of 7 billion, it is 1 billion women and girls, and hence 1 billion rising. The campaign in 2013 started across the world, came together to express, the focus was to express an outrage, to strike, to dance in defiance of the injustices that women suffer, demanding an end at last to end violence against women per se. 2014, over the years, the campaign has been getting broader and more inclusive. 2014, 1 Billion Rising for Justice called on focusing on the issue of justice for all survivors of gender-based violence, and highlighted the impunity that lies at the intersection of poverty, racism, war, plunder, environment, capitalism, plunder of the environment, capitalism, and patriarchy. And 2015-16, it was a rise for revolution to change this paradigm, to demand accountability, justice, and a systemic change, as we are rising now here in ELSA, to show that we are determined to create a new kind of consciousness. 2016 focused on marginalized women. The idea was, it's not just for ourselves, but it is for everybody around us. So it's not just for others and not just for ourselves, it's together we are rising. 2017 became, the call was one of rising in solidarity against exploitation of women and girls. So deeply entrenched in patriarchal systems and structures, also in terms of exporting of poor women for labor when in terms of economic exploitation, then the abuse of the planet comes in here as well, and the commodification, the dehumanization of women's bodies in the for the service of profit. 2018-19, the theme remains solidarity and focus of rising, resisting, and uniting together, and rising from a campaign to a way of life. That was the whole idea. And that was part of the OBR manifesto. 2020, it was rising to raise the vibration, rising for revolution against misogyny, femicide, homophobia, transphobia, corporate greed, and climate destruction. 2021, last year, and Anchal is going to tell you a little bit more about that, is the Rising Gardens campaign, was the Rising Gardens campaign in times of the COVID, which was like a defiant, creative call for revival, for restoration, for transformation, and in many ways a compassionate call for justice, because one of the greatest injustices of our times has been the destruction and the eradication of Mother Earth, parallel to the ongoing escalating gender-based violence. So that was the whole idea behind it. We must honor and protect the earth and women in order for any future life to exist. 2020, of course, is rising for the bodies of all women, girls, and the earth. And this is an artistic uprising. We call on the world to hold artistic risings for the bodies of women and defy any kind of, have a resistance against any kind of violations. And Abhadi is going to, expand on, who's the national coordinator, is going to expand on this dimension. So I'm going to leave it at that point. More from other stalwarts like Sunita Dhar as well, who's going to share her association with Kamla Di and the kind of rising that we are looking at today. So we're just starting with a film made by Eve Ensler and Tony Strobel, short film clip we are going to show you on the kind of violence that is there against women. There's a trigger warning here because this is part of a global campaign, but there's a trigger warning. It might bother some, so I want to warn you. So could we have the film, please?
Bulbul, I'm having some sort of technical problem with the film, so just give me a couple of minutes. Let me just figure that out.
So we have, I think we have Suchitra. Are you there? Okay, so before we do the film, while Suki is organizing that, I'd like to read the message from Khushi Kabir, who was very, very disappointed not to be able to join us because she has a meeting simultaneously at this point only, who is the South Asia coordinator of 1 Billion Rising. She's, of course, a Bangladeshi social activist, feminist, environmentalist, and so much more. And very warm wishes she sent, and she says, and I read from her message here, first of all, dear risers, first of all, let me thank you most sincerely for inviting me to your programs with this evening. Unfortunately, our borders, for which one day, hopefully, will wither away due to the power of love, stop me from joining you in person. I'm also sad, so sad not to join you virtually due to my inability to be present, as I have another absolutely impossible to leave meeting happening just then. However, I feel the least I could do is to write and express my solidarity with you, to express my being one with you, for sharing the evening with you. We rise this year to express our commitment and our promise to rise, dance, sing, create expression, to protest against pillage and exploitation of all kinds, economic, social, mental, of women and girls' bodies, along with that of our planet. We promise to do all we can through all means possible to protect the same. I miss today deeply and dearly my dear friend and our huge inspiration, Kamla. I miss her every day, but more so on such days. I'm sure you all must be missing her too. To honor her and to show our love for her, as well as for all of us, let us all rise together in the warmest rising, rising with the spirit of love that she's gifted us with. Let us show our strength in our amazing collective power of love. Thank you all. Hope we can someday meet in person with the warmest revolutionary greetings. That was from Khushi Kabir from Bangladesh. Suki, are we on with the...
Yes, we have the video. Yes,
Yes,
we have the
yes.
video now.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to call upon Anchal, who has partly curated part of this event with me. And she's come despite all kinds of constraints, of going to the hospital with somebody ill in the family, and I truly appreciate that. Anchal is our very own ELSA, class of 1989, gender and social development expert, facilitator, trainer. She works with intersectionalities in building capacities, advising and strengthening developmental programming in the social sector with an MSc in development studies. She has graduated from ELSA with a honors in political science. She's the executive director of a nonprofit NGO called Kriti Team, and she's going to tell you a little bit on that as well. So over to Anchal.
Thank you. Greetings to everyone this evening. Before I begin, I know Kamladi would have done it, so I'm hoping I'm trying to carry a little finger of a baton from her. A moment of silence for all the women, children, girls, and people who are facing the violence and the terror in Ukraine. If we can just take a moment, closing our eyes, and just pray for peace. Thank you. When the power of love overcomes the love for power, that's when the world will know peace. These words of Jimi Hendrix actually work for us in our personal, professional, and social lives. And it was part of this that Kamladi took at one of our risings when we worked together, the power of love. She lived and went with that power of love. She created so much for all of us. And this dupatta I'm wearing is one such, which Sangat would give us all women when we came together in the spirit of sisterhood. To that sisterhood, I'm here today to share. I'm going to start with a picture of one of the first risings we did together with Kamladi, Monique, Eve, and so many others. I never knew that Archana and Bulbul were from ELSA's actually till now, strangely, because we all belong to the world of the women's movement. But it's so nice to be here together in memory of Kamla and for OBR Rising 2022. Just a moment to see this picture and to say, I am rising, 1 billion rising. Risings that happened from different places, from Bastis, Azad Foundation communities, Sakha women, the pink ribbons we all wore in our handbands and our headbands and our wristbands, all the love and the resistance that we did, going to Central Park, dancing, singing, but also speaking, rising together, marching, etc., dancing, the SMS children and so many others together. And then all those different things that I won't go into. But remember last year when Kamla was still there, and she said, Anchal, and she said this to all of us, everyone, Abadi is here, kaise karen, kya karen? And Rising Gardens emerged as the 21, because it was something we could do in the communities, people could do in their homes and neighborhoods and everything. And so much plantation, nurseries, food, so much sharing happened. And we did the Rising Gardens Film Festival for 4 months, from January to April. Little did we know that post-April, Kamladi would have her end journey to another life. So this one is for you, Kamladi. We are here again virtually, and we will continue to do OBRs in different spaces and as different fraternities together. I rise with love and friendship today and always. I'd like to share now a poem, 2 short poems, one which I wrote many years ago. And it was one of those which Kamladi sort of patted my back on, and it's always good when a senior does that. I have heard the silence loud and clear. I have felt the pain and anger that your eyes speak of. I have seen you going along amidst the shadows of truth on the path that is your life, knowing that it's not yours alone. And you must know today that I am here to break that silence with you. And then the Rising Gardens last year at the festival, something I wrote in the spirit of the of OBR. We dance, we sing, we perform, we challenge socio-political contexts. We reclaim our identities and our sexualities. We find love. Yes, we do find love. I'm not so good at this, but I'm good at loving, I hope. As we nurture the self and others, we renegotiate patriarchies. We unlock desires. We question the closeted constructs of culture and religion. And what more is apt to say that than today, as we know. We write her stories of life and feminism. We resist violence and we rise in collective strength and friendship. Thank you. Bulbul, you're mute. Bulbul, you're mute.
Yes, I mute myself. Thank you, Anchal. That was truly inspiring. And I know how Kamladi loves, instinctive kind of poetry as well, and what she would come up with. So that's something that, we are all going to remember and recall. I have next here our very own ELSA, Dilruba Kalsi, a passionate educationist who has held leadership roles as principal, director of schools. Currently, she's the director of the Sri Satya Sai Vidya Vihar schools. She's been an advisor for the India Global Youth Parliament, previously the advisor for Vidya, a not-for-profit organization, and former executive director there as well, member of the Judicial Council for the Empowerment of Women. I invite Dilruba to please say a few words on the theme.
Good day to everyone. Violence against women, girls, and other genders is a clandestine global crisis which knows no boundaries of geography or culture. Owing to the sensitivity of the subject, the numbers are underreported. Less than 40% seek any kind of help due to the impunity, stigma, and ignominy surrounding it. While I interacted with marginalized women, what came to the fore was their desperate desire to break the shackles of servitude. Our objective being to educate, empower, and transform lives, I endeavored to equip these women with skills to make them financially independent, enhance their self-esteem, and help them to get out of their subservient existence. As an educator and director of the Sri Satya schools, I've always endeavored to break the gender bias and have endeavored to make gender equality an integral part of the curriculum. All women deserve to be celebrated on account of their contributions to society, their remarkable resilience, and their unparalleled attitude to defy all odds. Battling patriarchal stereotypes, women continue to beat the odds and thrive. In many an instance, however, the march to globalization has implied the marginalization of women and girls, and this must change. We need to change perceptions and attitudes so that women have enough space to develop. Women need to unite and spread consciousness that will help in real social development. right? I urge all women to stay strong, step up, and have a voice. We all need to unite. Remember that every woman's success is an inspiration to others. And to quote Serena Williams, when we cheer together, we're the strongest. So let's all of us unite and raise the flag for women to come together and share their consciousness, which will contribute towards developing a totally different social fabric. Thank you.
Thank you, Dilruba. And your video is on, so we can all see you.
Okay, now you can, yeah.
Yes,
But
yes.
earlier it wasn't coming
For some reason, the color is not there. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'd like to invite Srijanatmak Manushi Sanstha and our very own ELSA 1982 batch of history, who's been the experienced secretary of Srijanatmak Manushi Sanstha, which has worked with OBR right from the time it started in 2013 in India. Srijanatmak Manushi Sanstha is an organization founded by her along with Neelam Thapiyal and Dr. Kusum Sabarwal, and a registered society where the initiatives are working towards holistic development of women and children and for creating a classless, aware, healthy, literate, skilled, and cultured individuals in a peaceful and ecologically sustainable environment. She has children in Srijanatmak Manushi Sanstha who passed out of the organization and have come back to serve the community because they really believe it's made a difference to them. And a lot of the performances, like in Habitat and other places where they've won a lot of awards, the children have actually performed instances which they have, experiential instances which they themselves have been through. So it's very heartening to see them do that. So and they're going to share some of it now with us just now as well. Over to you, Archana.
Hello, everybody. Our association with OBR has been fairly long. In fact, right from year one, that is 2012. And Kamladi was a big force who kind of took us all with her on this. And I thank ELSA for having this, for taking this on and taking this further, and having also an ELSARising for 1 billion rising, and for justice, for love, for equality, for inclusiveness, and Vasudeva Kutumbakam. It sounds like a tall order, but it's not that difficult. We have the most powerful tool in our hands, and that is love. The most overpowering lesson that we need to disseminate today, the most overpowering lesson we have today to disseminate is at the social, at various levels and at the individual level, is the message of love. That's the only thing which will divide the world once again. Let us all be like the drops of water that join together, become a stream, become a river, join the ocean. And nothing can stop the ocean. We are just little drops, but together we are the ocean, and we'll rise for a better world. I would like just like the girls to perform just little snippets from things that they have done before. And the first, sabse pehle, they would like to perform a small little, it's not a full poem, but it's a small poem of Kamladi's, which they all love. And it's called Mujhko Padhna Hai. Tumko Kyun Padhna Hai? Father asked the daughter. The second one is another small snippet from Ajanmi. It's a play we did on the female feticide, and Shivani, other Shivani is going to perform on the female. We'll start with probably the female feticide, then we'll go on to Mujhe Kyun Padhna Hai, and the last one is how they want to fly like the birds. So I'll hand over to the girls now.
एक बाप अपनी बेटी से कहता है पढ़ना है तुम्हें क्यों पढ़ना है? पढ़ने के लिए बेटे काफी हैं। बेटी को ताव आ गया। तुमने पूछा है तो सुन भी लो, मुझे क्यों पढ़ना है? क्योंकि मैं एक लड़की हूँ, मुझे पढ़ना है। क्योंकि मैं एक लड़की हूँ, मुझे पढ़ना है।
मुझे यूं दर दर नहीं भटकना, मुझे सो पढ़ना है।
मुझे कई कानूनों को परखना है, सो पढ़ना है।
मुझे मीरा राबिया के गाना है, सो पढ़ना है।
सपनों ने ली अंगड़ाई है, सो पढ़ना है।
और ना अब अनपढ़ का जमाना है, सो पढ़ना है। क्योंकि मैं एक लड़की हूँ, मुझे पढ़ना है।
माँ मत रो, माँ मत रो। मैं समझू तेरा दर्द, मैं समझू तेरी ग्लानि। तू नहीं हत्यारी माँ, तू नहीं हत्यारी। थी चाहती मुझे बचाना तू उस हिंसा से जो फैली है शहर शहर और गांव गांव पर अबला। माँ आने देती मुझको उस हिंसक जग में। सहती नहीं मैं हिंसा माँ, सहती नहीं मैं हिंसा। ना झुकने देती बाप का सर, लौटाती हर बारात में माँ, लौटाती हर बारात में। जिसका दूल्हा मांगता एसी टीवी या फिर कोई कार, त्यागती उस घर को माँ, त्यागती। यदि वह नाचता मेरा तन, सदी है 21वीं माँ, सदी है 21वीं। अब न रहेंगी बेटियां अबला, ये है मेरा वादा माँ, ये है मेरा वादा। लोग फेंक रहे कचरे के डिब्बे मुझको, अब मैं मुर्दा मांस का टुकड़ा। लेकिन मैं फिर लौटूंगी अपनी चाची मामी या भाभी की कोख से, करने बेटियों के सपने साकार। मत रो माँ मत रो, अलविदा। हवाओं
से बन रही हैं लड़कियां, उन्हें उड़ने में मजा आता है। उन्हें मंजूर नहीं है बेवजह रोका जाना। सूरज सी बन रही हैं लड़कियां, उन्हें चमकने में मजा आता है। उन्हें मंजूर नहीं है बादलों से ढका रहना। फूलों सी बन रही हैं लड़कियां, उन्हें महकने में मजा आता है। उन्हें मंजूर नहीं है बेवजह ठुकरा जाना।
One solution,
one million rising revolution. One solution, one million rising revolution. One solution, 1 million rising revolution.
They're all happy with themselves. Okay, folks, that's it. I don't think conversation should be more, because this is more effective, because these are all children who have learned their lesson and nobody on the streets can trouble them. If they're two together, they know how to handle. Even though this is a generation which does all those videos on WhatsApp and what's that called, TikTok and whatever, but Instagram, but it doesn't matter. When they are together, they are like a very powerful force. ये हमारी बड़ी powerful little ants की army है.
Thank you so much, Srijanatmak, Manushi, Sanstha, and Archana, and all the girls there. I don't see the boys. I know you have boys there as well.
Yes.
We have another powerhouse next, Abha Bhaiya, our national coordinator for 1 Billion Rising. She's also Sangat South Asia Feminist, part of South Asia Feminist Network India, one of the founder members of Jagori, a feminist organization set up in 1984 in Delhi. She's been active in women's movement in India for nearly 40 years, has been working on a range of issues, including women's social, political, economic rights, the status of single women, women's right to health, bodily integrity and well-being, sex and sexualities, against militarization, fundamentalism, food securities, livelihoods, organic agriculture, and increasing erosion of civil rights of the poorest. Her contribution in the field of feminist training methodology, the pedagogy is very, very strong, with extensive experience in conducting feminist training for multiple constituencies in many parts of the countries. She's also set up Tara Feminist Retreat, Tara in one of the villages of Lower Himalayas, and also implemented a feminist community program now, which is spreading over 150 villages in different locations with a team of nearly 75 activists and workers in 2002. I present before you Abha Bhaiya, who's going to tell us about this year's theme. And of course, it goes without saying, her association with Kamla Di has also been through many, many years as part of Jagori and others. And I invite you, Abha Di.
Thank you so much, Bulbul. And Zindabad, Salam, Pyare OBR, ELSA Risers, and many more friends. Lovely to see you all. What amazing energy. The poetry, the memories, the risings, and analytical description of what it means to be a woman. So fantastic. Really, my salam to all of you. I'm speaking from my bed and trying to rise from there because I've injured my back, and therefore I will be kind of little less active than what I generally like to do. This is a very special event. I want to thank ELSA Risers. I want to thank Bulbul especially. And I also want to thank Achal and many more who have actually organized this amazing event. What diversity of participants, art, music, culture, amazing. So this is fantastic. आज जो खास बात है जो आप सब लोगों ने कई लोगों ने याद किया है बोला है कि ये कमला की याद में उसकी आवाज में उसके जोश में लिपटा उमड़ता 100 करोड़ अभियान का दिन हम सब महसूस कर रहे हैं उसकी सरगमी she is rising with all of us. We cannot miss her. She will not leave us alone. So friends, Kamla is really the lifeline of the OBR kind of risings all over the country and also all over South Asia. And there's no need to miss her because she is with us. So Kamla, chalo, साथ में गाएंगे नाचेंगे प्यार करेंगे मस्ती करेंगे ये कमला की बहुत बड़ी देन है खासियत है और वो हमारे साथ है. So friends, as Bulbul shared, in the last 10 years, the OBR has expanded its boundaries in terms of the themes, in terms of the communities, in terms of the all marginalized groups in all over the world, and we are nearly in 185 countries. And as Bulbul said, most probably the most widespread kind of a rising. And it always reminds me now that from Rise, Resist, Unite, we have now come back to the bodies of women. And we are really like, we are like a rising, millions of waves rising all over the globe and saying we will not be silent till we have a global peace agenda, not only on the table, not only on a paper, but in reality. We don't want to live with wars. We don't want Russia or America or XYZ to invade countries and destroy and use their military power and their capitalist power. So now very quickly, this year's theme, very interestingly, is about the safety of girls and women's bodies, as well as the safety of the earth. For me, when I came to the rural India, to Himachal, I really came with a very, very strong awareness of the relationship between the women and the land. They both actually work relentlessly and they are never thanked. I've been thinking, do women and the land has a right to rest? Has a right to be grateful to them? Do they have a right to say what we do is the lifeline of the entire globe, entire cosmic energy? And therefore, for me, the labor of women, the reproductive labor and the bodily labor actually are integrally linked to the reproduction of the land and the issue of the poisoning of the body of the women with violence and the body of the earth with chemicals. And we are actually destroying each other because we are not able to say, stop this plundering, stop the plundering and violation of our bodies. And therefore, we are saying, unless the earth is safe, unless the entire environment is safe, unless the air and the water, and many of you are in Delhi, you know what I'm talking about, it's safe, we cannot ensure safety to our next generation. I mean, I'm already seeing all of you as the next generation. And I think it's important that all of us say that this relationship must be seen together so that we stop the poisoning of women's and girls' body with sexual abuse, even sexual violence, and also bodily violence, that we don't even allow them to be born, and this continues, and the age is no bar. So today I want to actually bring all of you together in the lap of the earth, in the lap of the body, move inside. We grew gardens, we grew nearly 9,000 herbal gardens in the country. I think the gardens must continue. The grand greenery of our life and the land is something that we should aspire for. And that's where the peace.
Abadi, we are sharing the poster.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And this was the poster that formerly Eve who is actually the kind of torchbearer of this campaign, kind of launched this poster that we made because we wanted to actually create a poster and bring the body of the women and the earth and the water and the plants together. So that's our kind of concept this year. I know you live in Delhi and you live in big cities, many of you, and those who live in rural areas, just keep talking about reducing the poison in our lives and in the lives of the earth, and create a much better, green, beautiful, peaceful, loving world that Kamla actually worked throughout her life. I've been with her for more than 50 years, so we grew up together, and we'll continue to actually grow and inspire each other. Thanks a lot, Bulbul, and all my friends who are here. It's an amazing day. Very, very inspiring. Thanks.
Thank you, Abadi. You've made it much more amazing with, taking us all forward, and we expect you to be there every year with us, taking this forward. I would like to next invite our very own Elsa, who has, a lot of issues because her mother's in hospital, but still she's here with us to perform an amazing piece written by Eve Ensler, formerly she's called, formerly Eve Ensler, called The Rising. And we have Varsha Agnihotri Vaidya, batch of 89 political science honors, co-founder of Footloose No More, a relationship writer, occasional actor, vociferous about ending violence against women. Having been brought up in a liberal household, the differences between men and women were not part of her life, she says. And Elsa brought in that awareness and the realization of the kind of little incidents of violence that women go through every day. The piece that she's going to perform, and she'll tell us about it, is called Rising, written by V, formerly Eve Ensler, was first performed as part of Vaginal Monologues by Eve Ensler herself, directed by Mahabanu Modi Kotwal and Kezar Kotwal. So over to you, Varsha.
Thank you, Bulbul. I'm performing a piece called Rising by V, formerly known as Eve Ensler. I've been part of the Vagina Monologues in English and Hindi, and we have been speaking against violence towards women for a long, long time, until it's become a mission for all of us who've been part of this. So having been part of Rising forever, I'm proud to be part of ELSARising today. Here goes. Rising by V, formerly known as Eve Ensler. This could have been anywhere, and was. Mexico City, Manila, Mumbai, Manhattan. Nighttime men waiting like wolves, drooling for prey, behind that single dimly painted door, paying nothing, a couple of dollars or euros, rubles or pesos, to have her, enter her, eat her, devour her, throw away her bones. This could have been anywhere, and was. A Buddhist nun on a bus trying to stay dry for the night. A woman leader speaking out against the repressive government. A young woman traveling with her boyfriend. One lost her voice, the other her following, and the last, her life. This could have been anywhere, and was. Pink wooden crosses, a stack of stones, red wilting carnations, empty chairs in a square, ribbons flying in a sultry wind. I asked Anna, Nikhat, Kamla, Monique, Tanisha, Emily, why? Why? Porque eran mujeres. Kyunki wo aurat hai. because they were women. Because they were women. This could have been anywhere, and was, where she got fired for being too beautiful, fined for drinking after she was raped, a serious offer to marry her rapist, got told it was legitimate but not forcible. This could have been anywhere and was. They do such a thing. When girls go for firewood, step into a lonely man's car, drink a little too much at the college party, wake up with her uncle's fingers inside, run from the screaming machete and guns, be taken at sunrise, get a bullet in the brain for learning the alphabet, be stoned for falling in love, be burnt for seeing the future. I'm done. I am done cataloging the horrors. Data porn. 2 million women raped and tortured. 1 out of every 3 women. A woman raped every minute, every second. 1 out of 2, 1 out of 5. The same, 1. I'm done counting and recounting. Now, it's time to tell a new story. It needs to be our story. It needs to be outrageous and unexpected. It needs to lose control in the middle. It needs to be in our hips and our feet. It needs to be angry and a little scary, the way storms can be scary. It needs to not ask permission or get permits or set up offices or make salaries. It won't be recorded or bought or counted. It needs to just happen. It is not a question of inventing. It is not a question of inventing, but remembering, buried under the leaves of trauma and sorrow, beneath the river of semen and squalor, vaginas and labias shredded and extracted, stolen, body minds, mind bodies. It is not about asking now or waiting. It is about rising. It is about rising. Raise your arm, my sister, my brother, raise your 1 billion. Your heart, you are one of us. I used to be afraid of love. It hurt too much. What never happened, what got ripped away, the wound. And love, I thought was salt. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. Step into the fire, raise your arm, raise your 1 billion. 1. We are one. We are one rising, 1 billion rising. Rise, rise, rise.
Absolutely, absolutely amazing. We wouldn't have missed this for anything. I just hope your mother recovers soon. I'm so sorry that, we had to pull you here, and absolutely honored to have you here despite all of this. It really shows your commitment for the cause. So thank you very much, Varsha. Truly blessed to have you here.
Thank you so much, Varsha. Thanks a ton. Love to Auntie.
So we have Archana Puri next, our very own ELSA, who's going to say a poem here as well. 1988 batch of political science, and she stopped her master's from South Campus in political science, did her B.Ed from Annamalai University, has written on Gandhi's concept of trusteeship and concept and the relevance of it, and has been taught in a school which she's left now, has done diploma in dress designing, and is now a budding poet through the COVID times. So over to you, Archana.
Thank you so much. My poem today is in Hindi, so मेरी कविता का शीर्षक है नारी. नारी हूँ, मैं भी खुशियों की अधिकारी हूँ. बेटी, पत्नी, माँ, प्रेमिका, न जाने कितनी भूमिका निभाती हूँ. सभी लोगों के सुख को मैं प्राथमिकता देती जाती हूँ. धैर्य, प्रेम से युक्त मैं दिनचर्या में लीन जो रहती हूँ. इच्छाएं मेरी भी बहुत हैं, किंतु उन्हें अधिकतर व्यक्त न करती हूँ. किसी क्षेत्र में पीछे न हूँ, हुनर तो मैं भी कहीं रखती हूँ, डॉक्टर हूँ या इंजीनियर हूँ, टीचर हूँ या डिजाइनर हूँ, या फिर किसी भी अन्य क्षेत्र में माहिर हूँ। परिवार को प्राथमिकता देने से पुरुष से किसी स्थिति में कम में कैसे हूँ? निर्बल, अबला, कमजोर नहीं मैं, हक मेरे भी उतने ही हैं। नर नारी में फर्क नहीं, अब समान जिम्मेदारी दोनों की है। इसीलिए कहती हूँ, नारी हूं मैं भी खुशियों की अधिकारी हूं। परिवार में हर नारी को समान अधिकार दिलाना होगा। पुरुष प्रधान समाज में महिलाओं को हिंसा से बचाना होगा। अब वह क्या पहनेगी या खाएगी ये उस पर छोड़ दो। उसकी पोशाक व आचरण पर व्यंग कसना छोड़ दो। उड़ने दो उसको अपनी उड़ान आजादी से, जीने दो उसको अपनी जिंदगी अपने निर्णयों से। क्षमता क्या है उसकी ये उसे बूझने दो। सामाजिक बंधनों से उसे न जूझने दो। उसे अवसर की, समानता का सुअवसर प्रदान करें। आओ नारी सशक्तिकरण की ओर हम प्रस्थान करें। सहन शक्ति अपार लिए, प्रेम का भंडार लिए, सिर्फ त्याग की मूरत बनूंगी नहीं, किसी का भी जुल्म सहूंगी नहीं। जीवन के पथ पर अग्रसर होते हुए अपने हक को मरने दूंगी नहीं। नारी हूं मैं भी खुशियों की अधिकारी हूं। थैंक यू।
Thank you, Archana. That was beautiful. And the idea behind it is really, as Mary Wollstonecraft said, that when she spoke about women, she said, I don't wish them, that is women, to have the power over men. I wish them to have a power over themselves. And truly, in some senses, that's what was brought out there as well. I welcome our next very own ELSA again, BA Honors Philosophy, graduate of 2001. In the WhatsApp group was called Litwit. Still, I had to ask her, what is your name? Sudeep Kaur Kohli, I welcome you here, who's been a writer, contributor to Delhi newsletters, Outlook Traveler, Tehelka, Hindu Business Line, Platform, Man's World. I'd like to know what that is. Sahara Time, hotel, retail, medical, IT, counseling, myriad experiences that she has here. Today, she's going to is going to read for us, recite for us her poetry, short poems. Over to you.
Yeah. So can you hear me, Bulbul?
Yeah? Sorry, I switched my mic off very well.
Okay, you can hear me well. So yeah, just to answer your question, what the article in Man's World was, that was about a car that my husband test drove. So it was written from a woman's point of view about, yeah, you know, what do we know about cars? And it was, yeah, learning about a thing or a technical thing or two. Okay, so all right, I'm just going to play some background. Okay, before I do, just want to thank you, Bulbul. It's an honor being here this evening. Such an important event, ELSA 1 Billion Rising, dedicated to Kamla and all the women in the world who are, who are suffering in silence. And it's movements like this who help them speak up in silence, because violence can only happen in silence, right? Violence can only happen in silence. So we must speak up. So, okay. So I'm going to just play the audio, so can you hear the music, Bulbul?
Yeah? Yes, we can hear the sound.
All right. So here we go. So this is a small poem on the theme. The yesterday she buried alive resurrects to hold her captive today. Bound in chains, her today lashes against her tomorrow. Her tomorrow cracks, falls back on the tracks, back to yesterday. In the skein of time, she ticks away. She hears the unspoken, she feels the unseen. She theorizes, she rationalizes, she intellectualizes, She sanitizes and she institutionalizes herself away. But between her truth and lies, she collides. She begins to trade her every truth for every lie, until one day there is no longer a divide, but something wanted to be. When the smoke clears, she comes crashing down, even harder, against whom she will not see. She slaves to lust to fill the hole in her heart. She slaves to greed to snuff out the beast eating at her. She slaves to the excess to conceal the lack, craving what she already has, but denies herself to her. But then she returns, unbridled, unbowed, and unbidden. Between damnation and redemption, she returns. For not half, for not three-fourths, and not almost, but all of her. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Litwitz. Thank you, Sudeep.
I hope it was audible.
Very, very much so. The music wasn't very prominent, but that was fine. It gave it a kind of an ambience. Thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing, because very subtly bringing out the nuances of, different dimensions, which was a theme that wasn't really, touched on. So it's very, very, loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we have this absolutely amazing presentation, and something that ordinarily, in feminist Francois Poulain said that everything men said about women should be suspect, because they are both the judges and the litigants. But what we have next is the so enlightened Kaifi Azmi's absolutely empowering and uplifting poem called Aurat, recited by an equally amazing Gohar Raza ji. Gohar Raza is an Indian scientist by profession and a leading Urdu poet, social activist and documentary filmmaker working to popularize the understanding of science amongst the general public. He's known for his films like Jang-e-Azadi on the First War of Independence, Inqilab on Bhagat Singh, and lately part of the team which made Kamla Ka Kunba, a film on Kamla Bhasin, Life and Times. Gohar Raza ji, all yours.
बहुत शुक्रिया. मेरी आवाज पहुंच रही है आप तक?
जी.
मेरे लिए बड़ी इज्जत की बात है कि कैफी साहब की ये नज्म जो 50 साल पहले उन्होंने शायद लिखी थी, या उससे भी ज्यादा वक्त हो गया, औरत, ये नज्म उर्दू शायरी में भी एक टर्निंग पॉइंट थी, क्योंकि इससे पहले इतनी एम्पावरिंग कोई नज्म उर्दू शायरी में औरत के लिए लिखी हुई नहीं मिलती. हालांकि एक आध शेर ऐसे हैं, जैसे मजाज का है जो काफी पहले लिखा गया था, कि तेरे माथे पे ये आंचल बहुत ही खूब है, लेकिन तू इस आंचल से एक परचम बना लेती तो अच्छा था. लेकिन पूरी नज्म नहीं लिखी गई थी. कैफी साहब जैसी खूबसूरत आवाज तो नहीं है, वो जब पढ़ते थे तो जाहिर है कि नशा छा जाता था, पर ये बेहद खूबसूरत नज्म मेरे लिए बड़ी इज्जत की बात. उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे, कल्ब माहौल में लर्जां शररे जंग हैं आज, हौसले वक्त के और जीस्त के यक रंग हैं आज, आप कीनों में तपां वलवले संग हैं आज, हुस्न और इश्क हम आवाज़ो हम आहंग हैं आज, जिसमें जलता हूँ उसी आग में जलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे, तेरे कदमों में है फिरदौस तमद्दुन की बहार, तेरी नजरों पे है तहजीब व तरक्की का मदार, तेरी आगोश है गहवारे नफ्सो किरदार, ताबके गर्द तेरे वहमो तायन का हिसार, कौन कर मजलिसे खिलवत से निकलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे, तू के बेजान खिलौनों से बहल जाती है, तपती सांसों की हरारत से पिघल जाती है, पाँव जिस राह में रखती है फिसल जाती है, बन के सीमाब हर एक ज़र्फ में ढलना है तुझे, ज़ीस्त के आहनी सांचे में भी ढलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे, जिंदगी जहद में है सब्र के काबू में नहीं, नब्ज़े हस्ती का लहू कांपते आंसू में नहीं, उड़ने खिलने में है नखत खमे गेसू में नहीं, जन्नत एक और है जो मर्द के पहलू में नहीं, उसकी आजाद रविश पर भी मचलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे, गोशे गोशे में सिलकती है चिता तेरे लिए, गोशे गोशे में सिलकती है चिता तेरे लिए, फर्ज का भेज बदलती है फिजा तेरे लिए, कहर है तेरी हर एक नर्म अदा तेरे लिए, रुत बदल डाल अगर फूल ना फलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे, कद्र अब तक तेरी तारीख ने जानी ही नहीं, तुझमें शोले भी हैं बस अश्क फिशानी ही नहीं, तुझमें शोले भी हैं बस अश्क फिशानी ही नहीं, तू हकीकत भी है दिलचस्प कहानी ही नहीं, तेरी हस्ती भी है एक चीज जवानी ही नहीं, अपनी तारीख का उन्वान बदलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे, तोड़कर रस्म का हर बुत बंदे कदामत से निकल, ज़ुल्फ़ इशरत से निकल, वहम नज़ाकत से निकल, नफ्स के खींचे हुए हल्के अज़मत से निकल, कैद बन जाए मोहब्बत तो मोहब्बत से निकल, राह का खार ही क्या गुल भी कुचलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे, तोड़कर अज़्म शिकन दगदगे पंद भी तोड़, तेरी खातिर है जो जंजीर वो सौगंध भी तोड़, तौक भी ये भी है ज़मुर्रत का गुलूबंद भी तोड़, तोड़ पैमाने मर्दाने खिरदमंद भी तोड़, बन के तूफान छलकना है उबलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे, तू फलातून और अरस्तू है, तू जहरा परवीन, तेरे कब्जे में है गर्दूं तेरी ठोकर में जमीन, हाँ उठा चल उठा पाए मुकद्दर से जबीं, मैं भी रुकने का नहीं वक्त भी रुकने का नहीं, लड़खड़ाएगी कहाँ तक कि संभलना है तुझे, लड़खड़ाएगी कहाँ तक के संभलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे, राइज माई लव but this time rise my love against war, because women are at the closest receiving end of the war. I think, and I'll plead that we soon have 1 billion rising against war as well. Organize one of them. Thank you.
Indeed, indeed. That was so beautiful and beautifully recited. And the time that it was written in, and to conceptualize that something like this is just so relevant today and probably will be for another 100 years, the way things are. Thank you very much. We're truly honored for you to have, come and recited this for us. We have next with us a dedication, a song, which is a dedication in a sense to Lata Mangeshkar, but we're looking at it as a dedication to Kamla Di. And we have our very own Elsa, who's going to sing this for us. Sangeeta Pant, who's one of the leading women composers and singers in, I hate to use the term, Bollywood. She's a panelist on Women's Cell, Women Composers Association, known for her versatility in composing, singing, and writing lyrics. And she's written the lyrics of the patriotic song Mataram to commemorate the 75th Independence Day of India, and has also composed it together with other women composers. Way to go, Sangeeta. The song was released on 13th August 2021 and featured the stalwart singers of film industry like Shankar Mahadevan, Anuradha Podwal, Shan, Srinivas, etc. It received widespread acclaim and across Ministry of Culture and in India and abroad. She also sings bhajan. She's been a prominent singer with sung with the likes of Sunidhi Chauhan, Shan, Tochi Rana, Anuradha Pudwal, and others. I don't want to. She has a very extensive repertoire and a huge CV. I don't want to. She's had training in Hindustani classical music, and that explains, when you hear her, that explains why she sings so well as well. So Sangeeta, over to you for Rahe Na Rahe Hum, which is, we think, a dedication to Kamla Di. Whether she's there or she's not there, she's here with us.
Absolutely, absolutely, Bulbul. And thank you so much, Bulbul and Archer, for making me a part of this inspiring event. So, like you said, I'm going to sing the song as a tribute to Lata Mangeshkar ji, who we consider as a reincarnation of Ma Saraswati herself, and also to Kamla Di, both of whom have, left their footprints on in their respective fields. So here goes. Rahe na rahe hum, महका करेंगे बन के कली बन के सबा बागे वफा में रहे न रहे हम महका करेंगे बन के कली बन के सबा बागे वफा में रहे न रहे हम मौसम कोई हो इस चमन में रंग बन के रहेंगे हम खिरामा चाहत की खुशबू यूं ही जुल्फों से उड़ेगी खिजा हो या बहारा यूं ही झूमते और खिलते रहेंगे बन के कली बन के सबा बागे वफा में रहे न रहे हम खोए हमें से क्या है मिलना क्या बिछड़ना नहीं है याद हमको कूचे में दिल के जब से आए सिर्फ दिल की ज़मीं है याद हमको इसी सरज़मीं पे हम तो रहेंगे बन के कली बन के सबा बागे वफा में रहे न रहे हम जब हम न होंगे जब हमारी खाक पे तुम रुकोगे चलते चलते अश्कों से भीगी चांदनी में एक सदा से सुनोगे चलते चलते यहीं पे कहीं हम तुमसे मिलेंगे बन के कली बन के सबा बागे वफा में रहे न रहे हम महका करेंगे बन के कली बन के सबा बागे वफा में रहे न रहे हम Thank you.
Lovely. We are going to get you here for another song, but lovely, absolutely beautiful. At that note, I'd like to invite Sunita Dhar, who's here with us, to speak about Kamla Di. And I also want to acknowledge our very own Professor Dr. Meenakshi Gopinath, who's here with us, and Viscom had given this award to Kamla Di of She Rose, one of the first ones. And I'd like to acknowledge her as well, who's part of the gathering. And I'd like to request Sunita Dhar, who's been with Kamla Di for years in Jaguri. Otherwise, she's the co-founder and co-chair of the South Asia Women's Foundation. And she has been she's now senior advisor to Jagori and has been part of the board member of Women's Fund Asia as well for many years. Director of Jagori before that, manager UN Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women, and United Nations Development Fund as well. She's been part of that. Oversight has worked on the operations of the UN Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women, and extensively worked. She's been with UNIFEM as well, regional program coordinator of UNIFEM early on, coordinated and piloted innovative programs on gender, human rights, HIV, providing technical support to UN, government, civil society partners, coordinating gender and HIV program, and many others. And she is part of the reason we are here today with this program, because the initial idea I discussed with her, and her support has been enormous through this whole rising. So Sunita Di, salam to you and huge rising, and over to you.
Thank you, Bulbul. Such lovely words. What a beautiful, emotive, meaningful and a deep evening. And I'm sorry I missed the beginning because I had some unexpected visitors today. But I really want to salute you, Archana, the ELSA Alumni Association, for this event to honor Kamla. And to rise for OBR, because to me, for Kamla, OBR was her life. I mean, it's 9 years now. So she would link every event that would take place and say, 1 billion rising, this is part of OBR. So she ran it as a thread through all her events, through all her articulation, writing, and bringing forth the various issues that she was committed to. But before I go further, given the times that we are in, I would certainly like to say that today and now, each of us has to stand and is standing in solidarity with the women, children, and all peoples of Ukraine, because Kamla was against militarization, against war. She worked for peace and development. And today, I would like to call upon all the world leaders, the governments, specifically the offenders, to negotiate, to work for peace and to stop war. Peace is the only way. And as we move on to the OBR Rising, I know that come February, because we had many of our events, Bulbul and Archana, and so many partners around Delhi would come, 44 organizations would come together at the Nehru Central Park. Kamla's heart and mind would revolve around this annual event, because reaching out to those you don't know, going beyond your echo chambers, speaking to young people about love was a commitment she deeply cherished. The OBR 2022 call, as Abba has so beautifully spoken about, is to rise for the safety of bodies of all women, girls, trans communities, the earth. And this is something that Kamla would have communicated to all of us with great passion, because she believed in political transformation, in empowerment, in perspectives that would, and strategies to end patriarchy, imperialism, capitalism, racism, casteism, and other exploitative systems. This is what she dedicated her life to. And she dreamt about a world that would be loving, caring, just, fair. And that's what she strived for. In rising to end the violence on diverse women and trans persons' bodies and those beyond those with gender fluid identities. The call that OBR is given today is to build a future without discrimination, violence, and to create circles of love, healing, care, solidarity, to reclaim interconnectedness. To Kamla, interconnectedness was very dear. Towards the end too, she would always say, Ubuntu, I am because you are. She would say this all the time. And we know that Ubuntu is an African concept that is essentially about togetherness, humanness. It gives expressions to deeply held ideals of one's personhood being rooted in one's interconnectedness with others. And for Kamla, every OBR campaign was about the depth of knowledge and issues, about the breadth of vision. It was global, from the local to the global, across the width and geography of nation states. She didn't believe in borders and boundaries, in narrow identities. And with unique creativity, her poems, her forms of resistance, and her ability to translate the personal as political was something that she would always talk about it in every talk that she gave, in every campaign call, and all that she wrote. For instance, some lines that she had written which strike me today in the context of what we are speaking. फिर नीचे से हिलाएंगे बुनियाद और इमारतों को उनके जुल्मों को. So to address structural violence, not rooted in individuals, to transform the structures, the political economy of violence was something that she was very deeply committed to. For her, earth rights, moving mountains, going beyond borders, breaking barriers, building bridges were her passion. मैं सरहद पर बनी दीवार नहीं, मैं तो उस दीवार पर पड़ी दरार हूँ. She would see a ray of light. She would see hope when everybody was feeling down and said, there is no way we can move forward. But for Kamla, she saw the light. She became the light. And she said, even a candle can light up a dark place. She never saw darkness. And I think that is the spirit with which she worked for equality, for development and peace. For her, the women, the frontline workers, the leaders and champions on the ground were the real global citizens. She would always say, we're the ones who probably traveled, but they are the ones who are making the fundamental shifts in their personal and political and public lives. To me, Kamla was like an Azad Dirat, the neem tree. She exemplified a free, indomitable spirit with her love for indigenous knowledge, healing practices, alternative systems of knowledge building. The writer in her wove a garland of chants on Azadi. I don't think there's anybody today that hasn't heard her Azadi songs and calls and slogans, and they continue to resonate with all of us. And I recall, and there is a video, Kamla was in a wheelchair at the OBR event in 2013 at Parliament Street. She had broken her leg in Afghanistan and she was in the wheelchair and couldn't walk for 3 months. And she came there and she gave these chants to thousands of people that had joined there together, saying Azadi from patriarchy, from all hierarchies, from endless violence, from helpless silence, for talking freely, for singing loudly, for dancing madly. Azadi, hum leke rahenge azadi. And that was what endeared everyone to her. As a communicator, she was par excellence. Her legacy endures in the diaries, the tapestry of diaries, booklets, poems, songs, videos that captured feminist struggles, feminist voices of the decades and the times. Most importantly, Kamla touched many lives across the world, across South Asia. She cherished her South Asian identity. She challenged borders. She questioned narrow definitions of citizenship, and she fostered relationship and bridge building across feminist social movement groups. I salute my dear friend, along with each one of you. She was my friend and mentor. She was a senior colleague at Jagori and Sangat. And as she has written, पर लगा लिया है हमने तो पिंजरे में कौन बैठेगा तो पिंजरे में कौन बैठेगा जरा सुन लो. To our collective freedoms, resistance, solidarity, and collective rising, I salute you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunita Di. I don't know, this was meant to be a tribute, and everything that we are discussing here actually reminds us of her and reminds us of Kamla Di. And she's going to be there with us. And the idea of OBR is something which was she was so close to. Thank you so much. If Dr. Meenakshi Gopinath would want to come in and say a few words, we can. I'd like to invite her if she'd like to say a few words for Kamla Di. I know she's very, it's not something that's easy to speak about because they were so close. And if she'd like to come in. So for now, we'll probably, yes. Are you there, ma'am?
Yeah. Yes, I'm just gonna. It's very difficult to add anything about Kamla. All I can say is and Sunita has spoken for all of us, especially when we are being surrounded by weapons and war in Europe. Kamla would have stood up, she would have galvanized all of us. But I think when you think of Kamla, what comes to mind is what she would often sigh, है तो सफर खत्म कहाँ होता है, यूं तो हर मोड़ पे मंजिल का गुमा होता है. That's all I'd like to say, and I just hope that and I know we can feel her presence here today. And thank you, Sunita, for speaking for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Gopinath. I know you're not well, and thank you for being here and sharing Kamla Di's tribute and being part of it. Thank you so much. We have next Aparna Dikshit from the Women's Studies Center, Jamia Millia Islamia, Sarojini Naidu Center for Women's Studies. And she's a poetess who's radical and who's interesting, and she picks up themes. And this particular poem that she's going to do for us today, Mere Gaon Ki Ladkiyan, was a hot favorite of Kamla Di. She said, "Usko meri taraf se itna ashirwad dena." After Aparna recited this in, I think, 2018, Aparna, was it? 2018 OBR. And so over to you, Aparna.
So hello everyone, and it is lovely to be part of such event, and I'm thankful to Bulbul ma'am for giving me opportunity to perform this poem here. So when I performed this poem, Kamla Di was very much there in front of me, and she loved it and she appreciated it a lot. So this time I'm just dedicating my poem to Kamla Di, that is Mere Gaon Ki Ladkiyan. So the poem is, मेरे गांव की लड़कियां शहर पढ़ने आई हैं और वो का से कमाल और बा से बवाल पढ़ेंगी, बदल देंगी तुम्हारी नारंगी हरी किताबें, बदल देंगी तुम्हारी नारंगी हरी किताबें और तुम्हारी काली पट्टियां लाल लाल रंग देंगी. वो उतार फेंकेंगी तुम्हारे दुपट्टे और अबाए, वो उतार फेंकेंगी तुम्हारे दुपट्टे और अबाए और खोल देंगी कसी तनी चोटियां. बालों पर आड़ी तिरछी कैचियां चलवाएंगी और बर्बाद कर देंगी तुम्हारे खूबसूरती के प्रत्यय काली लंबी जुल्फों वाले. तुम्हारी घटाओं को हरा सफेद नारंगी गुलाबी और लाल रंग देंगी. बेहतर है तुम अपनी इज्जत उनके जिस्मों से हटा के अपनी जेबों में रख लो. बेहतर है तुम अपनी इज्जत उनके जिस्मों से हटा के अपनी जेबों में रख लो क्योंकि वो अब दीवार फांदेंगी और खुल्लम खुल्ला इश्क करेंगी, क्योंकि वो अब दीवार फांदेंगी और खुल्लम खुल्ला इश्क करेंगी। अपने प्रेमी का नाम साफ साफ लिख देंगी, पर्चे बांटेंगी वो अपने किस्सों के और अपने प्रेमी का नाम साफ साफ लिख देंगी। और नींद नहीं आएगी तुम्हें देखकर, यकीन मानो नींद नहीं आएगी तुम्हें देखकर, जब वो घूमेंगी हर गली नुक्कड़ चौराहे पर, आजाद सीना ताने आवारा बेपर्दा बेधड़क बेझिझक तुम्हारे रास्तों पर अपना नाम लिख देंगी। और जब आप काफी दे चुकी वो अब सवाल करेंगी, जब आप काफी दे चुकी वो अब सवाल करेंगी। और प्रेम तो करेंगी, प्रेमिका नहीं बनेंगी, प्रेम तो करेंगी, प्रेमिका नहीं बनेंगी। और तुम्हारे साथ सिनेमा हॉल और मॉल में ठहाके मारेंगी तुम्हारे कंधों पर हाथ रखकर, और तुम्हें पता भी नहीं चलेगा वो कब तुम्हें प्रेमी से दोस्त बना लेंगी। और तुम्हें पता भी नहीं चलेगा वो कब तुम्हें प्रेमी से दोस्त बना लेंगी। और भूसा भर देंगी तुम्हारे बेतुके मंसूबों में, भूसा भर देंगी तुम्हारे बेतुके मंसूबों में, दिन को रात रात को शाम कर देंगी। बेतहाशा सड़कों पर भागती वो तुम्हारी नसों में उतर जाएंगी, और तुम्हारे ही लहू के कतरों से तुम्हारे जिस्मों पर इनकलाब लिख देंगी। सुनो सुनो, तुम्हारी बकवास सुनकर वो अब खिसियाएंगी नहीं, अपनी दलीलों से बंद कर देंगी तुम्हारी जबानें, अपने इरादों से तुम्हारे जहन पाक साफ कर देंगी। और चाय की गुमटी से लजाते दुपट्टा संभालते बचकर निकलना उन्होंने अब छोड़ दिया है। चाय की गुमटी से लजाते दुपट्टा संभालते बचकर निकलना उन्होंने अब छोड़ दिया है। वो वहीं खड़ी चाय की चुस्की मारती तुमसे पेट्रियार्की, कैपिटलिज्म और कास्टिज्म बतियाएंगी। और उनके तेवर अब कुछ अलग से हैं, वो तुम्हारी आंख से आंख मिलाएंगी। उनके तेवर अब कुछ अलग से हैं, वो तुम्हारी आंख से आंख मिलाएंगी। हाँ, ये मेरे ही गांव की लड़कियां हैं जो तुम्हारे शहर पढ़ने आई हैं। ये अपने बदलते ख्यालों से ये अपने बदलते ख्यालों से तुम्हें और तुम्हारी व्यवस्था बदलने आई है, और बदलने आई है ये अपना संघर्ष और उसका स्वरूप। और इसी बहाने ये अपनी छोटी बहन आशा की जिंदगी बदलने आई है ये अपने संघर्ष और उनके स्वरूप। और इसी बहाने ये अपनी छोटी बहन आशा की जिंदगी बदलने आई है। ये तुम्हारी किताबें और स्कूल बदलने आई, ये तुम्हारे सवालों के अपने जवाब लिखने आई है। और देखने आई है ये तुम्हारा शहर अपने गांव की नजर से, देखने आई है कि तुम्हारा शहर अपने गांव की नजर से। और देखना ये कैसे कूदती फांदती खिलखिलाती एक दिन भाग जाएंगी बहुत दूर। देखना ये कैसे कूदती फांदती खिलखिलाती एक दिन भाग जाएंगी बहुत दूर, और तुम्हारे शहर को गांव गांव कर देंगी, और तुम्हारे शहर को गांव गांव कर देंगी। थैंक यू सो मच। थैंक यू मैम।
Thank you, Aparna. I think we needed that dose to shake us. Thank you so much, and bless you for that. Thank you so much, Aparna. We have next with us Satish, who is Satish.
Yes.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Would you like to put your camera on?
मैं कर रहा हूँ, मैंने किया है, कैमरा ऑन किया है। Yes, please.
सुखी, आप हेल्प कर सकते हैं? सुखी, शोभना। अच्छा, हाँ,
yes, जी,
wonderful. Ab Satish is going to, he's advisor and mentor of Mitra. Mitra is Men's Initiative for Transforming Relationships Through Action, and also the central support as part of the central support unit of Center for Health and Social Justice. And Satish, we've known for many years, has been part of OBR again, looking at the other side of it in some senses on masculinity. And he's worked on social justice for more than 35 years on issues of gender, equality, sexuality, gender-based violence, and founder member of MASWA, also part of Sahyog, Sutra, and FEM. And today he's in Center for Health and Social Justice. And the center itself, maybe Satish is also going to tell us something about it. So I'll leave it to you. He's also been associated, as all of us, with Kamla Di. So
thank you, Bulbul. सबसे पहले thank you Bulbul and the ELSA team. ये मेरी खुशनसीबी है कि मुझे शामिल किया गया और मैं कमला दी के साथ काम के अनुभव और मर्दानगी पे बात रखूं। तो ये समझना बहुत जरूरी था। जब कमला दी से मैं पहली बार मिला था और उनके गाने बहुत सुनता था और गाता भी था, तो पहली बार जब मिला 96 में, कमला दी ने कहा, और वो जमाना था जिसमें जब जेंडर की बात की जाती थी तो जेंडर मतलब महिला माना जा रहा था। जो भी ट्रेनिंग करनी हो तो लोग सोचते थे महिलाओं को भेज दो, और इसी इसी ये तो लंबे समय तक, करीब 2000 तक यही व्यवस्था रही कि सभी लोग महिलाओं को भेज रहे थे। और एक चीज और बीच में हो रही थी कि जहां भी महिला हिंसा की बात आती थी तो तुरंत लोग, मीडिया हो, सरकार हो, पुलिस हो, पूछते थे महिला संगठन कहाँ है। उस समय हम लोगों ने उठाया कि फिर पुरुष संगठन कहाँ है। ये हिंसा क्या केवल महिलाओं की समस्या है? यहाँ से हम लोग की चर्चा शुरू हुई और 96 में कमला दी ने मुझसे कहा कि ये जेंडर की बात पुरुषों के साथ कब शुरू की जाएगी, और तुम ये जिम्मेदारी क्यों नहीं लेते। तो पुरुषों के साथ जेंडर का काम शुरू हुआ, और उसमें इस काम में पुरुषों के साथ अगर काम आगे बढ़ाना था और हिंसा पे करना था तो पुरुषों को समझने के लिए मर्दानगी को समझना बहुत जरूरी था। किस तरीके से पुरुषों का घर के अंदर, घर के बाहर उनकी उनका जो तैयारी हो रही है, वो जो प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं, वो जो कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं, प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, उसको समझना बहुत जरूरी था। और ये समझने के लिए मर्दानगी पे समझना बहुत जरूरी था। और मर्दानगी पे किताबें बहुत सारी लिखी गई थी, बहुत भारी भरकम किताबें लिखी गई थी। लेकिन जब कमला दी ने 2003-4 के आसपास ये मर्दानगी, मर्दवाद जब लिखी, मैन मैस्कुलिनिटी अंग्रेजी में भी निकली, वो प्रैक्टिशनर के लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण थी। लोगों को बहुत आसानी से समझ में आ रहा था मर्दानगी पे काम क्यों करना जरूरी है। तो कमला दी ने एक चीज और बार बार कही कि महिलाएं क्यों नहीं बच रही हैं, ये समझना बहुत जरूरी है। और उसमें एक चीज ये निकल आ रही थी कि पुरुष नहीं बच रहे हैं। अगर पुरुष नहीं बचेंगे, महिलाएं नहीं बचेंगी। पुरुष इंसानियत से दूर होते जा रहे हैं। इतने पुरुष हिंसा कर रहे हैं, रेपिस्ट हैं, केवल वो पावर से प्यार कर रहे हैं, तो वो खुद एक मानव से, इंसानियत से दूर होते जा रहे हैं। इसलिए उनको बचाना है। आक्रामक मर्दानगी, दोषपूर्ण मर्दानगी, शासकीय मर्दानगी, जो भी हम बात कहें, जो कि केवल सत्ता और जीत पे टिकी है, नियंत्रण पे टिकी है, हिंसा पे टिकी है, इस पे प्रश्न करना बहुत जरूरी है। कमला दी ने बहुत पहले एक नारा दिया था, नो मोर वायलेंट बॉयज एंड वायलेंट टॉयज। अगर लड़कों को हिंसा के बंदूकों से, पिस्तौल से उनको खिलौने दिए जाएंगे तो कभी प्यार करना नहीं सीखेंगे, उसे डराना, धमकाना और हिंसा करना ही सीखेंगे। इवन अभी होली आ रही है, और होली में जिस तरीके की पिचकारियां आती हैं, वो सब मशीन गन, पिस्तौल, बंदूक आ रही हैं। इन सब पे प्रश्न खड़ा करना होगा। अगर हम भावपूर्ण मर्दानगी की बात करते हैं तो केवल पुरुषों के शरीर से नहीं जुड़ी हुई है। ये परिवार से लेकर के देश तक देखें तो परिवार में, समाज में, धर्म में, हमारे संस्थानों में और सरकारों में जिस तरीके से एक नियंत्रण, जिस तरीके से एक कंपटीशन, जिस तरीके से एक दूसरे को हराना और बगैर किसी कोलैबोरेशन के, बगैर साझा किए, बगैर कोएग्जिस्टेंस की बात किए जो निर्णय लिए जा रहे हैं, वो इस दोषपूर्ण मर्दानगी की एक देन के रूप में दिखते हैं। आज एक युद्ध और कई छोटे छोटे युद्ध चलते रहे हैं, और आज एक युद्ध फिर से इसी मर्दानगी का एक स्वरूप दिखता है। और इसलिए शायद हम सब लोगों को इस मर्दानगी पे काम करने की जरूरत है, समझने की जरूरत है। एक चीज और आ रही थी कि हम सब लोग महिला सशक्तिकरण के काम में घूम घूम करके कह रहे थे, महिलाएं बाहर आओ, घर से बाहर आओ, और बाहर राजनीति में, आर्थिक में अपनी भूमिका निभाओ। महिलाएं तो आ गई, लेकिन हमने कभी नहीं कहा घर के अंदर जाओ। तो घर के अंदर कौन जाएगा? महिलाएं भी घर के बाहर, पुरुष तो पहले से बाहर थे। तो इसलिए एक प्रश्न ये भी उठा, जो लगातार हम लोग उठाते रहे, कि पुरुषों को घर के अंदर भी जाना सीखना पड़ेगा। अगर पुरुष केयरिंग में जुड़ेंगे, सेवा में जुड़ेंगे, देखभाल में जुड़ेंगे, तो पुरुष बेहतर बनेंगे, खुद भी बेहतर जिंदगी जी सकेंगे, और उनके इर्द गिर्द जितने लोग हैं वो भी बेहतर जिंदगी जी सकेंगे। इसलिए मर्दानगी को घर से लेकर के हम लोग कहते हैं देश तक प्रश्न करने की जरूरत है, उसको बदलने की जरूरत है, प्यार की ताकत को समझने की जरूरत है। पुरुषों को ये सिखाने की जरूरत है कि कंपटीशन से दुनिया नहीं चलेगी, जीत और हार से ही दुनिया नहीं चलेगी। हमको कोएग्जिस्टेंस, खुद जियो और दूसरों को जीने दो, ये सवाल और ये संदेश बार बार ले जाना पड़ेगा। और अगर इसलिए हम लोग कर रहे हैं कि शायद हम मर्दानगी पे जब हम काम कर रहे हैं तो हम पुरुषों को बड़े पैमाने पे बचाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। शायद इतनी हिंसा से पुरुष बच पाएंगे और इसलिए पूरा समाज बच सकता है, क्योंकि पुरुष अगर इतनी हिंसा को प्रैक्टिस करेंगे, हिंसा सीखेंगे, हर बात केवल हिंसा के माध्यम से करेंगे, तो दुनिया बहुत मुश्किल रहेगी। और जिस तरीके का आर्थिक जगत तैयार हो रहा है, जिस तरीके का व्यापार चल रहा है, जिस तरीके की सरकार चल रही है, ये पूरा एक कंपटीशन बेस है, इस पे बंद करना पड़ेगा और हमको एक ऐसी जगह जानी पड़ेगी, ऐसे रास्ते तलाशने पड़ेंगे जो शांति की तरफ ले जाते हों, सबको सम्मान से जीने के अधिकार की वकालत करते हों। और 1 बिलियन राइजिंग ये एक बड़ा माध्यम रहा है। कमला दी लगातार ये बात कहती रही हैं कि पुरुषों को साथ में लाना होगा और हम बहुत सारे पुरुषों को साथ में बुलाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। थैंक यू वेरी मच, आपने हमको शामिल किया।
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सतीश, क्योंकि आपने दूसरा एंगल यहाँ पे दिखाया। क्योंकि जब हम मैस्कुलिनिटी की बात करते हैं तो हम वायलेंस अगेंस्ट विमेन में भी मैस्कुलिनिटी, जो I want to emphasize, and we can't emphasize that enough, that kind of patriarchy is perpetuated by women more than men. And the masculinity that is created, where the man is never a victim, there's an emasculation there, is suppressed emotions, violence which is endemic inside, and that whole notion of being a man. So thank you so much, Satish, for taking that forth, because that's a very important dimension. And we move on to another dimension of gender beyond the binary, to look at sexual orientation and gender identity. And we have this absolutely amazing group here with us, the Himachal Queer Foundation. And it's looking at it beyond, well, I'll leave it to them. And, with the quote that Margaret Fuller, over 100 years back, said, "There's no wholly masculine man, there's no purely feminine woman." So to take that forth, we have Himachal Queer Foundation from Palampur, Shashank and Don Hassan. Himachal Queer Foundation is an LGBTQ++ resource center founded by both Shashank and Don, jo aapke samne abhi dikh rahe hain aapko, Don Hassan. Organization works in spreading awareness regarding gender identity, sexuality, the intersectionality, also intersections between other important aspects of identities. And it's working on creating safe spaces for the queer community, and they focus on accessible queer affirmative mental health awareness, demystifying social and cultural taboos and injustices currently operational around us. They have very interestingly picked up, though jazz is their background, they very interestingly picked up local folklore, folk songs, and used it for the Pride Parade and others. So over to you both, Shashank and Dawn.
सभी साथियों को जिंदाबाद, जय भीम। हमारा नाम डॉन हसार है जी, और मेरा नाम शशांक है, and we are from Himachal Queer Foundation. So earlier in December, we had Himachal's first Pride Walk in collaboration with 1 Billion Rising. And this theme, which did explore violence against bodies, against the earth, against the very sense of having one's agency. And when OBR approached us regarding this Pride Walk, it really resonated with every member of our collective, of our foundation. And on 15 December, we all walked out on the streets in Palampur and expressed ourselves, talked about celebrating our very bodies that are usually asked to stay behind closed doors. So what we did was to make it culturally relevant. हम लोगों ने कुछ गाने लिए यहाँ के जो यहाँ पे पॉपुलर है बहुत सालों से, and we turned them into queer songs, into trans-feminist songs, where we could include everybody, and it talked about love, it talked about acceptability. उसके बारे में शशांक आपको बोलेंगे, फिर हम लोग गाना सुनाएंगे. तो मेरा जो जेंडर और पेट्रियार्की को समझने का जो सफर था वो कमला की वर्कशॉप से हुआ और इसी तरह की जेंडर वर्कशॉप से सफर शुरू हुआ। बहुत पहले, बहुत साल पहले जब सत्यमेव जयते में कमला ने बात रखी थी, तो मुझे लगा ये बातें तो मैं हमेशा से सोचता था पर कोई आसपास नहीं करता है, और ये बातें जो है वो मतलब ये मतलब बहुत जुड़ी हुई हैं मेरे मुझसे और जो मैं सोचता हूँ। तो फिर कमला से मिलने का मौका मिला और 2 वीक जो ट्रेनिंग होता है उनका मई जून में संगत के साथ होता था, और उसमें मैं पार्टिसिपेंट था, और उसके बाद जो है बहुत गहराई से समझ बनाने का काम शुरू हुआ। तो कमला की खूबसूरती ये थी कि वो बहुत ही सरल भाषा में जेंडर पेट्रियार्की की समझ जो है वो समझाती थी, और उनका जो स्टाइल था समझाने का वो बहुत देसी था। तो छोटे गांव कस्बों में हम जैसे जो लोग हैं उनको बहुत अच्छे से चीजें समझ में आती थी। उनका बहुत खूबसूरत तरीका था इंटरसेक्शनैलिटी को समझाने का, तो वो हमें समझ आया। और इसके अलावा वो कैसे इतना सारे लोगों को मोबिलाइज कर पाती थी, इतने सारे लोगों तक अपनी बात पहुंचा पाती थी, तो वो था गाने। तो वहाँ के जो रीजनल गाने थे, वहाँ की जो लोकल भाषाएं होती थी उनको वो सीखती थी, और उन्हीं के जो पॉपुलर गाने होते थे उनको वो नारीवादी गाने बनाती थी। तो उसी तरह के नारीवादी गाने हमने सीखे कमला से, और वही हम लोग गाते थे अपने अपने वर्कशॉप्स के दौरान, मूवमेंट में इधर उधर जाते थे तो उसके दौरान। तो जब प्राइड परेड हम लोग ने यहाँ पर करने का सोचा पालमपुर में, तो पालमपुर एक बहुत छोटा सा कस्बा है हिमाचल में, और जहाँ पर जेंडर की परिभाषा या जेंडर के बारे में कोई बात बहुत कम, मतलब कोई बात नहीं होती है यहाँ पे, और LGBTQI की बात तो बहुत दूर है, मतलब वो तो कई बार लोगों की इमेजिनेशन से भी परे है यहाँ पे। तो उसके बारे में सड़कों पे उतरना, अपने जेंडर को एक्सप्रेस करना सड़कों पे, और सेक्सुअलिटी के बारे में बात करना, तो वो कैसे लोगों से जुड़ा हो और कैसे लोगों को ये लगे कि ये जो मुद्दा है और ये जो लोग हैं ये हमारे अपने ही हैं, यहीं के लोग हैं, और ये लोग यहाँ की भाषा, यहाँ का कल्चर जानते हैं। तो एक बहुत ही पॉपुलर सॉन्ग है यहाँ का, जो सेक्सिस्ट सॉन्ग है, और जिसके बोल इस तरह से हैं कि इस गराए दिया लंबरा हो, इना छोरुआ जो लिया समझाई कि बत्ता जान दे सीटी मार दे। तो इस गांव के लंबरदार जो हैं, इन लड़कों को समझा लो, लड़कियां बोल रही हैं कि हमें आते जाते सड़क पे ये लोग सीटी मारते हैं। तो बड़े खुश होके यहाँ पर लोग गाते हैं, तो हमने उसको कैसे बदला है हम लोग अभी सुनाते हैं आपको। पालमपुरे दयालो का हो ना छोरुआ जो हो ना कुड़िया जो लिया समझाई कि लव इज लव हुंदा है, कि लव सतरंगी हुंदा। हिमाचले दयालो का हो ना छोरुआ जो हो ना बच्चे जो लिया समझाए कि लव इज लव हुंदा है, कि लव सतरंगी हुंदा। स्कूल विच जाना सा जेंडर सिखना, स्कूल विच जाना सा जेंडर सिखना, पढ़ी लिखी मानू बनना हो मास्टरा, पढ़ी लिखी मानू बनना। मुंडू कुड़ी विच कोई भेद न करना, मुंडू कुड़ी विच कोई भेद न करना, मुंडू कुड़ी दे इलावा भी लोक हन, मुंडू कुड़ी दे इलावा। इना लोकां दा हक नहीं मारना ओ मास्टरा, लोकां दा हक नहीं मारना ओ चाचुआ, लोकां दा हक नहीं मारना। पालमपुरे दयालो का हो ना चोरुआ जो हो अपने बच्चे जो लिया समझाई कि लव इज लव हुंदा है, कि लव सतरंगी हुंदा।
Lovely, lovely. बहुत शुक्रिया. We are going to call you in for another number. Palampur, wo Kangra wala. So thank you so much. I think we really need to deconstruct this, and that's the movement that we are looking for. I'd like to call upon Mithika now. And Mithika is an organization, and from Mithika we have Zubair and Durba. Can we have the video on them, please? Can you switch on your videos?
Yeah, can I?
Mithika,
Am I audible?
Mithika is, yes. Zubair, Durba hai?
Yes, Durba is also there.
Okay.
Durba, unmute yourself.
Unmute and put your
Durba,
camera
you are
on.
mute.
So Mithika is a social enterprise based in New Delhi working towards improving life space and addressing development and challenge to bring about lasting positive change in the lives of people, societies, consult, collaborate with diverse organizations, have been part of OBR, have been part of ELSARising, and part of a lot of initiatives that, I've got them and my students still remember them for the forum theater that they did, which was a very interesting device of leaving the end open-ended and asking the participants to actually be part of what they see as alternatives, as solutions. So it becomes our solution rather than something which we are talking down to. They also look at prioritizing intersectionalities and proactively pushing boundaries and definitions. And you'll see that they're going to perform on what they're going to perform now. They use theater, movement, a range of creative tools to do the work that they do. Cross-pollination of ideas, tools, and experiences that is what makes Mithika really creative. So Mithika is really Mittika, or off the earth. So it's very, very hands-on. And that's what we are going to see now. It's part of what Durba, I can't see you, Durba, but something that she said was part of 108 stories that they've put together with, and this also had Kamladi's blessings, and Durba was remembering her, and they're going to perform that. So over to you, both of you, Zubair and Durba.
Thank you, Bulbul ma'am. Thank you, बहुत शुक्रिया. कमला दी को याद करें तो कमला दी से हमारा भी बहुत कनेक्शन रहा है और उनके साथ ओबीआर में काफी काम करने के बाद काफी कुछ सीखा है, तो उनके लिए ये कहानी.
Yeah, hi. It's very remembering Kamladi a lot today, and thank you so much, Bulbul, for having us here. Kamladi was there for the launch of this book. It's called 108 Real Stories, Real Women. And we had done this project called Festival of Voices, where we tried to see how Delhi, the relationship between women and Delhi, the city, the so-called rape capital, misnomer, but I mean, yeah, and when we did this story, so we researched stories of narratives of 108 women, and we are going to read just one story of the book. And it's a story of Delhi's first woman e-rickshaw driver called Binota Gayan. Zubair and I will read the story together. So Binota came to Delhi with her husband over 18 years ago. She was newlywed then, and they had come to this new city far away from Kolkata, their hometown, in search of a living and a life. In Delhi, Binota's husband had found work as an on-call driver for private cars, and Binota as a part-time cook and house help. She had worked as a domestic help ever since she was a young girl, and her Kolkata love for food had also eventually led her to work as a cook. She would ride her bicycle to go from one house to another to work until the fateful day when she suddenly injured her knee while riding. The ligaments were damaged and the doctors advised her to give up riding her bicycle. It would only make her injury worse. This was earth-shattering for Binota. Her bicycle was her sole means of getting around the city, and suddenly, travel alone was eating up the bulk of her time and income. Binota would now have to walk 4 kilometers every day to reach the auto stand and pay for a rickety, overcrowded auto ride to her destination. Her limited mobility and the high level of competition also meant that she no longer earned enough. And neither did her husband. His on and off work as a driver did not pay either enough or regularly. The result? A severe financial crisis at home. Then came a day when Binota passed an e-rickshaw on her way to the auto stand and was struck by the thought, why not? Binota had learned how to drive when she was very young, but had never thought of it as a skill that could serve her. By now, she was also dissatisfied with her occupation. She wanted to start something of her own, earn enough to support her family and live a life of dignity. Driving an e-rickshaw seemed to be her opportunity to fulfill all her desires. And when she shared her idea with her husband, he only encouraged her.
तुम जो करोगी सही करोगी, मुझे तुम पे पूरा भरोसा है। मुझे लगता है कि तुम मुझसे ज्यादा कमा सकती हो।
सच में लगता है?
मुझे बिल्कुल लगता है।
तो ट्राई करो।
बिल्कुल जाओ, जाके ट्राई करने में क्या हर्ज है?
Her husband's strong support and faith in her gave Binota a boost of self-confidence, and she decided she was going to go for it. There was no second thought, no looking back. It was not easy though. Binota was the only woman in the auto stand, and the men were not so tolerant.
मैडम जी, कहां से आ गए आप? आपको पता नहीं है कि ये ऑटो स्टैंड हमारे लिए है। यहाँ पर सिर्फ हमारे रिक्शा चलते हैं। आप रिक्शा लेने आई हो या चलाने आई हो? अगर चलाने आई हो तो आप यहीं से वापस लौट जाओ, क्योंकि आपका काम घर में है। जाकर खाना बनाइए, वही काम सचता है आप पर। ऑटो रिक्शा चलाना आपके बस की बात नहीं है।
Binota had to learn to ignore their foul language, their comments, their gazes. She had to put her determination to test, to just hold her spot in the stand and focus on her work. Policemen in the area made her life difficult as well.
मैडम, यहाँ रिक्शा चलाने के लिए पैसा देना पड़ता है, और आप तो यहाँ तो आइए ही मत, क्योंकि आपसे तो हम बात ही नहीं करना चाहते। अपने मर्द को भेजिए, उसी से बात करेंगे। जाइए यहाँ से।
They harassed her in ways they never did the male auto drivers. Even her community did not spare her. They demeaned her because of the profession she had chosen. The women in her neighborhood were especially mean. Binota recalls, they would say offensive things like, "You pick up riders for 5 rupees because your husband doesn't earn." Here too, Binota had to hold her own. "I earn because of my ability and courage, unlike these women who only know how to talk ill of others," she would remind herself. Today, however, Binota's hardships have paid off. Today, she is recognized as the first woman e-rickshaw driver in Delhi. She feels grateful for the choices she has made and the support she has got for turning her and her family's life around. Till date, my husband's support is my biggest pillar of strength. Even now, if there is any trouble at the auto stand, he will be the first person to run and come from his work to resolve the fight, so that I don't have to face any difficulty alone. Even though he is earning a little less than me, I feel I'm nothing. I could not do any of this without his support, she says. Binota also feels grateful for the support she has received from the city. Delhi has always supported me to explore new things. I got a substantial loan even for buying my e-rickshaw. People here were very encouraging, as I was the first female e-rickshaw driver in Delhi. The city has helped me to become confident and to acknowledge my strengths. It has also helped me to do something I wouldn't have done otherwise in any other place. And today, Binota feels proud when men and women reach out to her and say, "Seeing you has given us the courage to believe that we can drive a rickshaw as well." Men who were once rag pickers have aspired for a life of dignity and left their jobs to become e-rickshaw drivers after having met Binota. She didn't just create her own destiny in the city, but she inspired and continues to inspire many around her to take control of their own lives. Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you. That was beautiful. I wish we had Azad Foundation and Sakha Foundation to follow with women drivers, that experience. And unfortunately, they couldn't join us. I had approached them. Thank you so much. That was amazing. And can you just show us that book again? We'd like to acquire it.
Thank you.
It's available on Amazon. I can share the link in the chat.
Please do that. Please do that. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested. Thank you. Bless you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Bulbul ma'am.
Zubair and Durba.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And looking forward to having you for Forum Theatre in the university, probably in ELSA and other places.
Sure, ma'am. Whenever we really want to come back to the college and places जहाँ पे हम कर सकें forum, and it's needed now more than any time. मतलब अभी तो बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है इसकी.
Yeah, and Zubair is also part of. Zubair, would you like to tell us the colleges that you are going?
So right now,
Delhi University.
Yeah, we are. I'm teaching and doing Forum Theatre Applied because we both, Gurba and I, are applied theatre practitioners, and we use theatre practice for dialogue. So we are teaching in Delhi University. I am teaching in Mata Sundari and Gargi College, and Durba is teaching in Shama Prasad Mukherjee College nowadays.
Okay. Well, that's news. Thank you and bless you. Thank you for that input and just the sharing of the stories. And I'm sure we'd like to acquire. Please do put the link in there.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Bulbul.
So we'd like to invite our own ELSA History Honors person, Ikroop Chamba, and I'm envious of her name.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. It's such an
Ikroop is a life enthusiast. I love that term. Independent podcast producer, writer, voiceover artist, and she hopes to be a poetess one day. I'm sure she's one already. She's worked across media for over 18 years, a proud mom to 2 gorgeous kids. Life each day is never the same as the one gone by, she says. So over to you, Ikroop.
Thank you so much. It's such an electrifying energy right here. Thanks so much for having me here. My piece is inspired by my 2 teachers, and they teach me how to pause, think, and then act. And they are my son and my daughter. क्योंकि माँ हूँ मैं. कल हम कुछ सहेलियां थी बैठी, चाय की चुस्की और बातों के बीच. उनमें से एक किसी कोने से निकाल लाई ये बात धीरे से खींच. वो बोली, बेटा और बेटी हालांकि होते तो दोनों अनमोल हैं, लेकिन फिर भी उन दोनों में फर्क है, दोनों का अलग अलग सा मोल है. पहले क्षण तो दंग हो गई मैं, फिर गुस्सा आया, भला ऐसा भी कोई बोलता है. कुछ पल बाद समझ आई कि बात कहने सुनने की नहीं, करने की है. ये जो अक्सर बातें करते हैं ना हम जेंडर की, दरअसल ये बातें होती हैं कुछ बाहर और कुछ अंदर की. इतने में ही दूसरी बोल उठी, हम तो पढ़े लिखे हैं, क्या हम भी ऐसा करते हैं. कमरे ने जो अब चुप्पी साधी, सबकी जान एक से हो गई आधी. खामोशी को तोड़ते हुए कानों पर पड़ी तीसरी आवाज, ये ही तो दस्तूर है, दुनिया का रिवाज, जहां की रीत है, लड़की को कड़छी और लड़के को फुटबॉल से प्रीत है. सवाल ये है कि आखिर कहाँ से आती है ये सोच, क्या हवा में चलती है या पानी में बहती है. क्यों अब तक हम बात करते हैं ऐसी, कुछ तुझ जैसी कुछ मुझ जैसी. क्यों जरूरी है फर्क करना दोनों के बीच. क्यों नहीं दे पाते हम दोनों को बराबर मुट्ठी खोले आंखें मीच. समाज को अब प्रज्वल कैसे बनाया जाए, एक समान उजाला कैसे फैलाया जाए. अब समय आ गया है कुछ नहीं बल्कि बहुत कुछ करने का, अपना माँ वाला पल्लू कसने का, टाइटली कसने का. अब समय आ गया है अपने बेटों को नरमी, आंसू और प्रेम सिखाने का. अब समय आ गया है अपनी बेटियों को बुलंद बनाने का. अब एक एक कर कमरे में आवाजें कहने लगी, बस अब और नहीं. धीमी धीमी ही सही, धीरे धीरे ही सही, अब समय आ गया है आवाज उठाने का. मैं जैसी हूं या जैसा हूं, मैं तो खुशनुमा हवा हूं. ना मेरी उड़ान की कोई नाकाबंदी है और ना ही मेरे सपनों पर कोई पाबंदी है. समय आ गया है अपने बच्चों को ये सिखलाने का। थोड़ी सी शक्कर और हल्की सी मुस्कान के साथ मैंने अब चाय की एक और बारी दृढ़ मन और अपने माँ वाले हाथों से अपना डब्बा खोला और सबको खिलाया केक। You see, my boy just absolutely loves to bake. मैं एक बात समझ गई हूँ अब अच्छे से. I have to switch on my equal mode. I have to let him knit and I have to let her code. क्योंकि माँ हूँ. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Ikrup. And we'd really like to document all of this because this is so beautifully drawn in, but we are really running out of time, and basically our time management is pathetic, but I think the theme is such. I'd like to invite Brother Steve Rocha from Nine is Mine, and he's going to tell us more about that. For him, the notion of, Nine is Mine is that 9% of the GDP should be for the children. So it's a child rights NGO, Pratyek, which envisions for a world in which every child is empowered to stand and claim every right for everyone. So the whole notion of, they've taken it forth and they've been part of the OBR campaign. And Brother Steve is going to share a short film also with us to show you the kind of energy OBR has for people, first timers who are here with OBR. So over to you, Steve. Sorry, you have to unmute, Steve. Suki, can you help him? I think we need to unmute him. Steve, if you can hear me, please wave. Okay, so can you unmute? We can't hear you at all. Okay, I think the admin has to do that. Okay, I think somebody else is speaking. Could be.
I need screen sharing rights.
Yeah, okay. Also screen sharing rights, please, Shobna, Suki, for Brother Steve.
He has them because he's co-host.
Host disabled screen. It says host disabled participant screen sharing right.
Okay. Why don't you start and we'll. Okay. Or you want to show the short film first? Yeah.
Okay, I'll do the presentation first then. Okay. So basically, the video was ending with the words of Kamla Di saying, "Another world is possible. Ek nayi dunya mumkin hai." And what better way could we represent that with Kamla saying, thinking of a world that's different, a world that's upside down. And our first poem then is written by a child. And this is what it says. We must not listen to children. You are wrong if you think that children are worth something. I know that children don't have ideas. It is not true that children are intelligent. Children can't help adults. Don't think that children can change the world by listening to us, by loving us, by encouraging us. We will get nowhere. It's useless. Hitting us, ignoring us, that's the important thing. Listen to us. Unless you reverse your thinking and listen to us, that's the most important thing. Ignoring us, hitting us, it's useless. We will get nowhere. By encouraging us, by loving us, by listening to us, children can change the world. Don't think that children can't help adults. Children are intelligent. It's not true that children don't have ideas. I know that children are worth something. You are wrong if you think that we must not listen to children. And in a way, that's what Kamla taught us, to listen. Listen to everyone, that everyone has a story, and that story can impact and contribute to our beautiful world. The other reverse poetry that I have is written by a child who is just 10 years old and had dyslexia. And probably that's the story, that's the poem that speaks of what Kamla would have asked women across the world, and we in our movement, children across the world, to really acknowledge when they say, "I'm stupid." Nobody would ever say, "I have a talent for words." I was meant to be great. That is wrong. I am a failure. Nobody could ever convince me to think that I can make it in life. And this is what Kamla would say. I can make it in life. Nobody could ever convince me to think that I'm a failure. That is wrong. I was meant to be great. I have a talent for words. Nobody could ever say I am stupid. And with that, then, if I have the rights, I can just share the screen. And
Yeah,
here's
you
the
have
tribute.
the right now.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Steve, we can just hear the sound and your poster's on. We can't see the film being played. And we really wanted to show that actually, because that gives us a feel of OBR in Central Park.
Can you hear it?
We can hear it. Well, not anymore.
Okay, yeah, because I stopped it. I thought you were saying something, so I stopped it.
Yeah, sorry. Are you not screening it? No, Brother Steve, you're not screening it? It's just the sound, and that's also fairly marginal. The visual is missing. No, could you not share the screen and show us? Just for a minute only.
Sorry, what's happening? You can't see it?
No. We can
Okay.
only see you and some sound coming.
So my screen says host disable participant screening sharing. So I've started. Anyway, so let's just thank.
Suki, do you have the film that you can put on quickly?
No.
I don't have it, Google.
Okay.
Anyway, let's just honor and thank this forum and Kamladi for teaching us the skill of listening to stories and celebrating potential and possibilities. Thanks, Bulbul, and thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Steve. I'm sorry about that. And we hope to show that film at some point in time, because that shows the energy of OBR. And I want to apologize to everybody for the abominable time management that I haven't been able to, kind of stick to. But the theme is just so provocative and just so alive that we can't do anything else. So we have Nilofer here, who's, we've delayed her timing as well. And we are going to leave out a couple of the sessions that we had, 2 minutes of others. But we have Nilofer, and then I'd like to invite Shabnam Di after that. And then we'll have a song, really a short one by Sangeeta Pant, before we have the finale with Zia. Is Zilla? Is Zilla here? We'll check that out, because she was here right from the beginning. Okay, Nilofer. So Nilofer is our own, very own ELSA. And she studied, she's a 1976 batch, bachelor's that she did from ELSA. And after graduating, she's gone to England to study beauty therapy at ITEC. And for those who don't know her, she's been an entrepreneur and participated in the inception and the growth of the Shahnaz Herbal. Needless to say, she's Shahnaz Hussein's daughter. So here goes, all yours.
Thank you, Bulbul, for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. Always love that little tuck you get in your heart every time you're connected back with college. I've written this poem especially for this evening because I wanted something really for women and to keep up with your theme. I would like to add that my greatest belief is in vocational training for less empowered women. I've been working in that for about 15 years now. I've been working with His Holiness the Dalai Lama sister for the Tibetan children who come to India. And
sorry, after Shabnam, I'll get you in.
Can you hear me? There's an echo, I think. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. At least I.
Everybody. So that's one thing that I've been doing at a lot of NGOs. I've been carrying out vocational training in beauty and seeing that girls educate themselves. So this is called Chehra. It is connected to the veiling and the hijab. Both sometimes go together, in cases. It's called Chehra. मेरा चेहरा न किसी की अमानत है. मेरा चेहरा न किसी की अमानत है, न सरकार की जागीर, न मर्द की तिजोरी का सामान. किसी चेहरे को धूप की तड़प चाहिए, किसी को मध्यम सी चांदनी छांव की आस. न मुल्ला न सरकार न गुमराह पत्रकार. बस करिए, हो गया बहुत शोर, बहुत आवाज. ये चेहरा न है सियासत का गुलाम, न मेरे मजहब का परचम, न घर वालों का ईमान. मेरे चेहरे पे होगा आज से सिर्फ मेरा फरमान. ये चेहरा मेरी तकदीर है, मेरी हस्ती की पहचान. हया से लाल जो है उसे न बेहिजाब करिए. सदियों की रीत पे ये जुल्म न बेहिसाब करिए. न धूप की आस के लिए मुझे आज बदनाम करिए. रोशनी आएगी दबे पांव जब दिल में उजाला होगा, और हर औरत की आंखों में बेपनाह इज्जत का प्याला होगा. This is written by me from my heart for all women who are either forced to move the veil or to wear the veil. Either way, the face is hers. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilofer. That's a different take on a very, very interesting issue here. I'd like to now invite Shabnam Di. Apologies, Shabnam Di, for the delay. Do we have, can you put your video on, and do we have you here? Yes, and maybe the mic. Can you unmute her mic as well? I'm actually very embarrassed about, having delayed you so much. And you're truly a role model in the way you have uprisings and the way you collectivize people and the amazing amount of energy that I've seen in your programs. So this is also a humble tribute to you. And Shabnam Hashmi, part of Anhad, Act Now Anhad, as in Act Now for Harmony and Democracy, has been doing amazing social transformation through a lot of efforts working on issues of democracy, secularism, communal harmony, gender equality, women's empowerment and justice, human rights, and the larger framework of, bringing about change. She's been a human rights campaigner for many years. And I remember her telling me that she left her PhD to come back to work here and didn't go and pursue that. At some point in a seminar, when I said doctor, somebody addressed her as Dr. Shabnam Hashmi. She said, I haven't finished my PhD and I had to leave that and come back here. And she's, of course, the sister of Sardar Hashmi as well. And that's not her identity, though, nor is this her identity. But just to tell you, everybody appreciated Gohar Raza ji so much. That's her husband, the scientist, poet, and all. And Shabnam Di has been associated with Kamla Di for many, many years, and you know the kind of work that they've done. And she's very forthright in giving her opinion on a lot of things as well. So, and street theater again is part of is something that has been popularized by her too. And again, I want to remind everybody, Kamla Ka Kunba also, she's part of the team which made Kamla Ka Kunba, which is this beautiful film. We wanted to screen bits of it, but as you can see, we have abominable time management. So over to you, Shabnam Di.
Thank you, Bulbul, very much. And let me correct you, I never was doing any PhD. I'm a college dropout. I hope you can hear me because the network here is very, very bad. I'm in a very remote village in Karnataka. You asked me to speak about, okay, you asked me to speak about OBR and Anhad and Kamla Ka Kunba. I don't think there's enough time to do that, but I would just give you one story about Kamla. Anhad organized, as we do a lot of trainings for our own people who are engaged with Anhad. And we had a teacher in a small village in Haryana who was constantly having problems of domestic violence and not getting enough respect within her family. And I insisted that she, invites her husband to the residential camp. And that one camp where Kamla took one day workshop, we had many other sessions. Kamla was not happy at all for giving that we gave her one day. She wanted a lot more, but that one day workshop transformed that girl's life. And she told me many times and many years later also that that one workshop made so much of difference in her personal life. And you can understand, what Kamla did to the minds and hearts of people and to people who, who have always lived in very highly patriarchal families and behaved like that. So that is one story about Kamla. About Kamla Ka Kunba, I frankly don't know why Kamla asked me to do this film, because Kamla, I know Kamla for a very long time, and it predates, of course, OBR and our relationship. But I cannot, claim to be a very close friend of Kamla. We have worked together, we have traveled together in terms of working in same spaces. I never worked on gender. I mainly worked on secularism and other issues. But that call which came to me late night and Kamla was on the phone about 1.5 months before she left us. And she wanted me to, do a film. But I think the only reason was that I'm not even a filmmaker. The only reason why she, gave me that important work, because she knew that I'm not going to, and I'll always stand by what Kamla told me. And that was that she was not leaving anything for her relatives or family except for her son. And everything else was for, she said, I have earned everything in the name of the poor. Everything goes to the people who are fighting on the ground, and it goes to that work. Not everyone around us has that kind of a heart, who would leave a huge amount of money to be utilized for the fight for gender equality in this world or in South Asia. So that was Kamla. There are, of course, hundreds of stories, but we are much behind the schedule. And also, as I said, that I'm here in Karnataka with my own sister who is ailing and the last stage of cancer. So I need to be with her. and I'll take your leave and probably talk about Kamla at some other point. Thank you very much for calling me. The network is bad, the camera is bad, but that's all I could.
But we can see you, we could hear you very well.
Thank you.
And all the best for your sister, solidarity, and thank you very much for being here despite all of this. Thank you, bless you.
Thanks.
I'd like to call upon Nidhi now, ELSA Nidhi again, who's a multi-talented CEO of Booksomnia, entrepreneur, poet, and much more. And she's been waiting here with her kids, and I want to apologize to her for, getting her in so late. We are hugely delayed. And over to you, Nidhi.
No worries. Hi, everybody. It's an absolute honor to be a part of this forum and have a share of voice with such remarkable people. I won't take much time. I run a platform which publishes kids. We are the largest publisher of kids called Booksomnia. And I would like to read out a poem by a 16-year-old girl who shared this on the subject that we're discussing today and was published on a platform. The poem is called A Purple Poem, and this is how it goes. There is a purple poem on my mother's neck that my father writes for her every full moon night. Instead, most poets write on paper, but my father writes on mother's skin. She smiles. She says she doesn't mind, says the purple poem is truly a thing of pride and beauty. Yet she keeps it covered carefully with the end of a dupatta, shielding it. She says she's scared of it being looked at by the evil eye. There is a purple poem on my mother's hand that father writes for her every full moon night. Instead, most poems have words, but it's a shape poem. My mother insists. She sits me down before the computer, makes me look at some, but does not ask me to write one shape poem. I wonder why. There is a purple poem on my mother's forehead that my father writes for her every full moon night. Instead, it has not been written tenderly upon the softness of paper with a gliding quill. It has been pummeled, pushed, slapped, and smashed. Probably the way mom punches walnuts into the dough for a winter cake. I think father also wishes for this purple poem to permanently stay. There is a purple poem on my mother's feet that my father writes for her every full moon night. And tonight, as I reach out, my fingers measuring the dark, ensuring my steps are silent, I tread with caution so as not to raise my mother. I touch this purple poem, which she says is a treasure, an honor, a privilege, a boon, and even at times a wife's pride. Her sleep-crusted eyes flicker open and she winces. So that was a purple poem by a 16-year-old who has witnessed domestic violence on her mother. I only hope to live a day where these poems are just a pure work of fiction and not inspired by real life. Thank you.
Very, very well said, Nidhi. Indeed, domestic violence, intimate partner violence is so rampant. And we wouldn't like to end at a kind of a negative note. So we have with us Zila Khan, and she needs no introduction, of the Ustadga Foundation. She was in our Baitak, in the first Baitak here as well. And after that deeply moving poem by Nidhi, and very well written as well, something experiential, we'd like to move on to a more, end with a more positive note here. So Zila, are you there?
Yes, adab everybody.
Camera is not on. We can hear you very well though. Lovely. So I would like to tell everybody she's also been associated with Kamla Di, and she's come here for the cause than for anything else. And she said that for Kamla Di, I want to come, and she's made time. I know she had a lot of commitments, but she's made time to come because of Kamla Di. So over to you, Zilla.
Adab, everybody. ELSA, wonderful initiative, amazing as always. 1 billion rising movement, very much. It needs everybody's support. Jitna kiya jaye, utna kam hai. बुलबुल की अम्मा नैन्सी बीबी जान आदाब, जिनको मैं बचपन से जानती हूँ, जिनको मेरा ख्याल मेरी पैदाइश से पहले उनका एसोसिएशन मेरे पेरेंट्स के साथ रहा है और मेरे फादर के मामू के साथ रहा है, which is I feel very close to all of you. I feel like family, and we are one, and we are one in everything, ups and downs and everything. I do the same through my Ustadga Foundation. I work with underprivileged children, some women sleeping under the bridges, children sleeping under the bridges. But I do it especially for the musically talented children. उनको सिखाते हैं और उनके careers बनाते हैं. तो उसमें शास्त्रीय संगीत भी सिखाते हैं, वर्ल्ड म्यूजिक भी, ताकि शास्त्रीय संगीत प्रिजर्व हो जाए, वर्ल्ड म्यूजिक के जरिए उनकी आमदनी और अच्छी हो जाए, ताकि they are no less than any other artist in the world. नैन्सी बीबी की ये बहुत ख्वाहिश थी और हुक्म है सर आँखों पर हम कि ये हौसला कैसे झुके, ये गाया जाए आज. तो हम ज़रूर इसको गाएंगे. इसके पहले आप लोगों को सबसे पहली जो सूफी सेंट क्लेरिक्स के ज़रिए मानी हुई, the clerics acknowledged her as a saint, was Hazrat Rabia Basri in our Sufi realm. So Hazrat Rabia al-Basri, her spiritual message, her spiritualism, her Sufism was all about unconditional love. But today, especially with the violence that happens and how we all feel for what is happening in the world, I also want to say that how soft and unconditionally a woman can love. But look at the promises that she asked, not just a man. Hazrat Rabia al-Basri asked, not of just a man or a human being, but of God, Allah Himself. So she says, and I have condensed her Sufism into just prose. I had recorded it for Saregama. If anybody wants to hear it later on, you can. But the gist of it, 4 lines, 8 lines, let me just read it, and then I'll go on to your singing, whatever you want. She said, God, Ya Allah, I love you unconditionally. If I love you for the fear of hell, don't give me heaven. If I love you for the fear of heaven, then also don't give me heaven. It's not because of the fear of anything that I want, but if I love you unconditionally, the way I love you, then there should not be any barriers or veils between you and me. You have to love me as unconditionally as I love you. Yeah, I swear, I mean, not just heaven, but I want you to show yourself. अपना नूर दिखाओ, अपनी तजल्ली मुझ पे डालो, अपनी जिला, अपनी तजल्ली मुझ पे डालो, अपनी नूर मुझ पे डालो, your aura. I want to see you in your full glory. That is the kind of unconditional love a woman can have. No conditions. but this is the condition that you'll have to love me back unconditionally. क्या बात. तो हजरत राबिया बसरी की सूफीज़म के साथ ज़रूरी था, because very importantly, and she was recognized by the clerics, the Muslim Islamic clerics of, and she was born within 100 years of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's passing away. So just see the power of the women power at that point, how amazing it was, that how rightfully she got her right as a Sufi saint. And today it's sad to see कि मंदिर और मस्जिद में कभी कभी औरतों को जाने के लिए इजाज़त नहीं देते. ठीक है, फॉर विच एवर गाब, वॉट एवर रीज़न, कभी मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल है तो कभी ये है तो कभी वो है, जो भी. लेकिन ये जो फ़र्क है ना, ये जो फ़र्क है, इसको ख़त्म करने में आप लोग सब पाथ बेरर्स का बहुत 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 शुक्रिया. All of us are blessed to have path bearers, some of you who have been path bearers, and Kamla Basin Bibi was that kind of path bearer. So let me start before I get emotional about her. और जिसका दिल चाहे मेरे साथ गाने का गा दो, म्यूटेड पे लेकिन गा लो. ये हौसला कैसे झुके, ये आरज़ू कैसे रुके, ये हौसला कैसे झुके, ये आरज़ू कैसे रुके. मंजिल मुश्किल तो क्या, धुंधला साहिल तो क्या, तन्हा ये दिल तो क्या. हो तुम तना तना तुम तना ना तुम तना तुम तना, ये हौसला कैसे झुके, ये आरज़ू कैसे रुके. मंजिल मुश्किल तो क्या, धुंधला साहिल तो क्या, तन्हा ये दिल तो क्या. तुम तना तुम तना तुम तना तुम तना तुम तना. राह पे कांटे बिखरे अगर, उस पे तो फिर भी चलना ही है. राह पे कांटे बिखरे अगर, उस पे तो फिर भी चलना ही है. शाम छुपा ले सूरज मगर, sorry. शाम छुपा ले सूरज मगर, रात के एक दिन ढलना ही है. रुत ये टल जाएगी, हिम्मत रंग लाएगी, सुबह फिर आएगी. हो ये हौसला कैसे रुके, ये आरज़ू कैसे रुके. राह पे कांटे बिखरे अगर उस पे तो फिर भी चलना ही है। शाम छुपा ले सूरज मगर रात को एक दिन ढलना ही है। रुत ये टल जाएगी, हिम्मत रंग लाएगी, सुबह फिर आएगी। हो तुम तना तुम तना तुम तना तुम तना तुम तना तुम तना। ये हौसला कैसे झुके, ये आरज़ू कैसे रुके। होगी हमें तो रहमत अदा, धूप कटेगी साए तले। होगी हमें तो रहमत अदा, धूप कटेगी साए तले। अपनी खुदा से है ये दुआ, मंजिल लगा ले अपने गले। अपनी खुदा से है ये दुआ, मंजिल लगा ले मुझको गले। जुर्रत जुर्रत सोबा रहे, जुर्रत सोबा रहे, ऊंचा इकरार रहे, जिंदा हर प्यार रहे। तना तुम तना तुम तना तुम तना तुम तना तुम तना। ये हौसला कैसे झुके। एक कादरी सिलसिले का कलाम है, बहुत खूबसूरत है, खास तौर से विमेन एम्पावरमेंट के लिए और पीर मुर्शिद के लिए। अनकंडीशनल लव, एक्सपेक्टिंग इट बैक। ये बुजुर्गों का कलाम है, इसको कंपोज किया है मैंने। उठे जो नजर, उठे जो नजर, उनकी आलम ही बदल जाए। उठे जो नजर, उनकी आलम ही बदल जाए। दीवाना बने कोई, दीवाना बने कोई, और कोई संभल जाए। उठे जो नजर, उनकी आलम ही संवर जाए। उठे जो नजर। मैं अपनी हदीस से दिल कहूँ, मैं अपनी हदीस से दिल की कहानी कह दूँ सांस की गर्मी से, एहसास की गर्मी से पत्थर भी पिघल जाए, एहसास की गर्मी से पत्थर ही भी एहसास की गर्मी से पत्थर भी पिघल जाए, उठे जो नजर उनकी आलम ही बदल जाए, दीवाना बने कोई और कोई संभल जाए, ये हौसला कैसे झुके, ये आरज़ू कैसे रुके, मंजिल मुश्किल तो क्या, धुंधला साहिल तो क्या, तन्हा ये दिल तो क्या हो, तन्हा ये दिल तो, तन्हा ये दिल तो क्या है, ये हौसला ये हौसला कैसे झुके, ये आरज़ू कैसे रुके, ये हौसला कैसे झुके, ये आरज़ू कैसे रुके। राह पे कांटे बिखरे गए, उस पे तो फिर भी चलना ही है, शाम छुपा दे सूरज मगर रात को फिर ढलना ही है, ये हौसला कैसे रुके। भैया ये बंद कैसे होता है? बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। ओहो हो, पूरे व्यू में सब लोग इसमें सुरूर में, आई लव यू ऑल, एब्सोल्युटली लव यू ऑल, अमेजिंग। आप लोग के साथ बैठ के वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट का मजा आता है और ऐसा दिल चाहता है कि एक भी लड़की अब परेशान ना हो। वो जो कहा मेरे से पहले, वो बहुत बहुत खूबसूरत बात कही और सभी लोगों ने, मैंने शुरू से सुना, एक भी लड़की। बहुत शुक्रिया। मैं मालूम मुझे कि बहुत प्रिविलेज्ड हूँ कि मेरे अब्बा ने मुझको तालीम दी, सिखाया, बाकायदगी के साथ ऐसी बेटों की तरह सिखा के, और मेरा हाथ में ये गंडा बांधा कि अब दुनिया सुनो। और मेरी सेरेमनी की, गंडा बांधने की, शागिर्दी की सेरेमनी की, नौशाद साहब म्यूजिक डायरेक्टर, उनको बुलाया, दिलीप कुमार अंकल को बुलाया, इफ्तिखार अंकल को बुलाया। इन लोग सबको बम्बई में जश्न करके उन्होंने मुझे मेरी शागिर्दी की कि इसको सुनो, बच्ची को सुनो, अब हिंदुस्तान को एक और आर्टिस्ट देता हूँ। मेरी बहुत अच्छी किस्मत है, मुझे पता है, लेकिन इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि हम लोग अपने अपने बैटल्स नहीं लड़े हैं। आज भी मर्दों की दुनिया में, भाइयों की दुनिया में, उसमें हर जगह से हमको एक अपनी स्ट्रेंथ के हिसाब से चलना पड़ता है। हर जगह कितनी भी, चाहे अंबानीज हो, चाहे कुछ भी हो, सब लोग अपनी अपनी बैटल्स पे खड़े उतरे। या रब, शुक्रिया।
थैंक यू।
बहुत शुक्रिया आप सबका।
बहुत खूब, lovely Zilla. I think we've taken my time management, as I said, is abominable, but the cause was so, so powerful. So without much ado, I'm going to request, is Sukhi going to say, or is Smita going to say the vote of thanks? Sukhi's finally come in front. She's been doing all the back work along with Shobna here as well. So thank you for that. So
okay, Bulbul,
thanks now.
Thank you. I have to first thank you, Bulbul, for putting this whole thing together. Thank Aanchal for working with you and bringing such a spread of wonderful, wonderful people who reminded us every time of violence against women and girls and non-binary people. So that was completely wonderful. And of course, Suki as the secretary has been the, the solid rock, complete rock behind the entire event, all the time being, supporting us without saying, without speaking much. and Shobna, where are you?
Shobna, please
Shobna, show yourself.
Please
again
wave.
Yeah, in the background, wonderful, stepping in always at the right time and being with us. Back work. Suchitra is not here, and Suchitra had to leave. I think she dropped off, but she was also to sing and speak, and unfortunately we lost her to some internet connection issue. Ashima and Anya, thank you also so much for your background support. That was wonderful. I would like to thank all the artists, everybody who performed, and especially you, Archana Di, because I'm looking at you. You're bringing the girls from Srijanatmak Sanstha. That
Manushi Sanstha.
Master Srijanatmak Manushi Sanstha. That was amazing. Every single input was amazing. And thank you, audience, for all of you ELSAs who participated, all of the family and friends who've stayed with us, not for 1.5 hours, but for 3 hours.
Yes.
It is so special, so special.